Very, very good morning to you. Welcome to Shop on TV. My name is Shona. Great to have your company this morning. Now, when we're normally on shopping television, it's very rare that I can actually say to you that we're bringing you something that is life-changing, that is so important, something that none of us should neglect. It's a difficult subject. We don't want to talk about, losing loved ones and, dying and illness and that kind of thing, but it's so important. It's incredibly vital that we make sure that we protect not only ourselves, but our family and friends around us. Now, we are joined this evening by our partners, our on-air partners, Simpler Law. Now, they are an incredible company with decades of experience, award-winning and with 5-star Trustpilot reviews. Now, we've got some fantastic deals for you, some offers that make your securing your future really affordable. So let's have a little look at that. It's a really simple process as well, because actually they've got people in the office until 3 a.m. this morning, which is extraordinary. So actually, if you were to pick up the phone, and you can see it there, 0333 600 2600, or indeed to text the word will to 66777, you will actually be in touch with someone at the moment. Now, if you do text, no one's going to phone you back straight away. They'll phone you back from tomorrow by about 11, lunchtime tomorrow. But if you want to speak to someone tonight, you can. Now, when you look at the prices that we've got here, I have to say, even the normal price, it's incredibly good value. But what Simpler Law have done is give you these very special prices tonight, because you are watching us at the right time. Now, your Shop on TV offer price for your family and estate will is just £89 tonight. You can also see you can break it down into 4 instalments there of £22.25, making a saving of £120 tonight. Now, your lasting power of attorney normally would be £349. If you're thinking, what on earth is a lasting power of attorney? Do not worry. We're going to go through all of this in great detail. £179 is your Shop on TV offer price tonight. Again, you can split that over 4 payments of £44.75, giving you that £170 saving. Now, if you wanted to do both, if you wanted to get your will sorted and your lasting power of attorney, look at that saving, a saving of £309, because you're watching us at exactly the right time. £249 tonight, split that over 4, £62.25. Simpler Law have done absolutely everything in their power to make this affordable for you to secure your future. But it's not about it being affordable, it's about it being simple, about it being easy, having someone to hold your hand and guide you through the whole process and make things clear and easy to follow. And that's what we want. We don't want this issue, which could be so often and is so often ignored. We want to make it easy for you and to make you feel comfortable with the whole process. Now, if you are watching us on a regular basis, you're used to going to our website. Don't go to our website tonight. Go to simplerlaw.co.uk // Shop on TV, and that will take you to this exclusive page. And in fact, you could pop your details in there. If you don't want to speak to anyone, or you don't like texting, you can put absolutely everything into that. And the great thing about that is then somebody will contact you. So all you need to do is just think, I'm going to take that first step. I'm going to think about myself and my friends and my family and my loved ones. Now, I'm really thrilled to have 2 amazing people from Simpler Law that are actually going to take you through this entire process. And we've got lots and lots of questions. Now, we've got the CEO of Simpler Law. We've got Andy Townsend with us here, and Helen Claydon, who is the Head of Legal Services. Good evening, or good morning, depending on which way you look at it.
Hi.
How are you?
Yeah, really well, thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, I always love these shows because I think what you're actually doing is giving a really easy way of people actually starting to take control of something that is so often neglected, isn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Now, the first thing I wanted to say, Helen, I mean, we're going to go through the show and we're going to dispel some of the myths, maybe some of the misconceptions that surround will writing. I mean, you know, what are the sort of things that you hear that are misconceptions?
Yeah, it's funny when you speak to people, they do have these ideas in their head and you sometimes wonder, where does this come from? You know, is it people talking? Is it your friend down the pub, you know, that says this kind of thing? But a lot of the misconceptions we come across are around what actually happens if you die without a will in place. Now, a lot of people don't realise that if they don't choose to make a will and put their decisions in a legally binding document, there is a set of rules that will distribute their estate for them. And throughout the show, we'll talk about that in more detail. But a lot of the things we hear are from married people. They think that their spouse will automatically get everything. So,
Right.
well, I don't need to write a will because I'm married. That's not true. It depends on the size of your estate as to how much your spouse actually receives. We hear, well, my children will get everything anyway. Well, that's not necessarily true. It depends on your situation again. And one of the most common ones we come across is unmarried partners. Now, if you're actually unmarried to your partner, it doesn't matter if you have children together, if you live together, if you've been together for 30 years. If you are not legally married and something happens to one of you, the other one is not entitled to receive anything at all.
I mean, these sort of nuggets of truth here are exceptional, aren't they? And I think we all do assume that we kind of know the rules and regulations. Now, we do have the CEO of Simpler Law here, and Andy, you've had some very, very exceptional things happening for Simpler Law in the last couple of weeks, haven't you? I understand you've won an incredible award.
We have, yes. So last week we was at the British Wills and Probate Awards, which are the awards purely for this industry. And one of the awards, which is the Estate Planning Firm of the Year for a large firm, and which is an excellent accolade because it is voted for by the industry itself. And we were up against some extremely stiff competition, and we are very pleased to say that we won it. So
we can see on the screen
right,
there, which
yes.
is fantastic.
So yes, we are Estate Planning Firm of the Year official. So yes, we are extremely proud to receive that award.
Oh, fantastic. With decades and decades of experience as well, and that's what it's going to be so clear and obvious as we go through the show. Now, the first 250 people who pick up the phone or text WILL to 66777 are going to receive What My Family Should Know book. Now, this book on its own is worth £25. Now, Andy, we were talking about this a little bit earlier on, that this makes everything so simple, but you were saying that actually this is the sort of thing that can be neglected and problems come up with passwords and all sorts of weird and wonderful things that we forget about in this digital age.
Yes. We specialise in probate, so we've created this book for many years of our own experience there. But there's some very interesting facts which I'll give you, which are in the book there, and I'll read them because I can never remember them offhand there. But as it says here, that in the UK, it's estimated that there is more than £5 billion in forgotten pensions, £850 million in unclaimed British bank accounts, and £2 billion in unclaimed life policies. So these are things there which people have saved for, they've paid for, they've put money away for, that is for their benefit. They've not used it, and of course if it's life insurance, it's for the benefit of their family, that then is forgotten about. It's missed because, you know, unless you pay a regular monthly premium out of your bank account, how would you know? You know, frozen pensions, you know, people regularly come across, got 3 or 4, they've changed jobs there, and there's a few thousand locked up which gets forgotten about. You know, money in this savings account, and you've got the old passbook there, and, you know, the passbook gets at the bottom of the drawer, and they get forgotten. So there are billions of pounds there that families are missing out on. And then if you think, you know, digital, we live in a digital world now. You know, all my pictures are on my phone. An iPad, and you know they're all on there now, and you know I keep promising them I'm going to get them printed out and downloaded, and I don't get them printed out and I don't get them downloaded, and of course if something happens to me and the phone's locked, or the iPad's locked, or whatever tablet you use, you can't gain access to that. Yeah, and you know, a few tries and you get locked out there, and they are lost forever. And we are hearing this quite regularly. So we've put this book together, and what it allows you to do is to write it down. Keep a central record of it. So there are pages in here and things that you wouldn't think about, you know, as even like, you know, digital accounts. You know, we live an online account now, you know, with, you know, you have mail order accounts there, things like eBay accounts there, yes. You know, passwords, and people have money in them. And, you know, other accounts as well, home security systems. Yeah, you think, well, if you got home security systems with passwords, or computers, or email accounts, all of this a digital world. And then you think of practical things like policies and frozen pensions, etc. Put them all in one place there. Of course, with bank accounts, it's not asking for your passwords or anything. All it wants is a record there. So when people come to administer estates, or people pass from us to administer estates, you know, whatever their preference is there's a central record, because there is billions of pounds there which families are missing out on, which, of course, you know, people providing for the family, and then it's getting lost.
It's getting lost.
It's an extremely valuable book, and it's an extremely popular book as well. And of course, for the first 250 people tonight, we will give them one of these free of charge.
Yeah, I think this is absolutely invaluable. It's an invaluable tool for all of us to have at home. And I have to say, if you are one of the first 250 people to contact Simpler Law tonight, and all of the contact details are there on the side of the screen, if you are within that first 250, you're going to receive this book free of charge. But I've already said to Andy and to Helen that I'm going to be buying one of these, because I think this is absolutely incredible. Now, Andy, Simpler Law offers so many different services, even more than wills, don't you? I wonder if you could take us through some of that.
Yes, yeah, we're part of a group, so we're within the group. So we're licensed conveyancers, so we can offer these sort of services as well. We have people moving, buying and selling properties. Also, we offer more specialised end-of-life services. So, for example, we provide powers of attorneys, which we'll be discussing tonight. We also provide probate services as well when people pass on. You know, we administer estates for people. Court of protection work. So if people lose mental capacity and don't have a power of attorney, we can get a court of protection order. We're going to find out a little bit more about that later. Mm-hmm. It is complicated, it is expensive. We don't recommend it, but we do provide for services like these as well. We provide a bereavement service. So if people are bereaved, they can, you know, they can call of us, and we will give them advice as well. You know, about executors, etc., and guide them through a maze of questions. You know, we offer these services to people. We store wills for people. Yeah, we can, you know, and other valuable documents as well. So there's a vast array of services there, but predominantly, you know, we specialise in end-of-life planning. That is our area of expertise, and that is what we really focus on.
So, Helen, we are actually going to, obviously there's a wide range of services that you as a company offer, but we are going to concentrate very much on this, in this show, on wills, and a little later on we're going to touch on lasting power of attorney and the two different types of lasting power of attorney, or LPA for short, that cover both health and property and finances as well.
Yeah, that's right.
So I wonder if you could say why our viewers, if they're watching, I mean, they may be thinking, well, there's lots of ways that I can write a will. Why should our viewers come to you, to Simpler Law, to write their wills for them?
So this is what we do every single day.
Yeah.
You know, we specialise in estate planning and writing wills for clients, and we've got over 180,000 clients all over the UK who have produced their documentation with us. And for us, it's, you know, all the usual things. You're right, there's a lot of choice in the market about who to go to, and it is such an important thing, and we'll see that as we go through the show this morning. It's important that you choose the right person to do this. I mean, we're absolutely thrilled with the award that we've received that shows that we're doing a good job for our clients, but also look out for things like having professional indemnity insurance. We've got 5 million professional indemnity insurance, so every document that we produced is covered by that. We've got highly skilled and trained staff who do this day in, day out, so there's not a scenario that we could come across that we haven't seen before and that we can't deal with. So all those reasons, our 5-star Trustpilot rating, you know, we're really proud of that, because that's our clients taking the time to say, yeah, I've had a really good experience with my consultant, I'm going to leave them a review. And it's all about the consultants as well. It's always very personal. It's like you go on this journey with them to produce your documentation, and they become like a friend, you know. They're there to pick up the phone and ask any questions and things like that, and quite often the reviews reflect that. I think for us, really, it's all about that customer journey, and it's a real personal experience. And for some people, it's a very kind of paperwork exercise, and they know exactly what they want to happen, and they just want to get it done, and it's very easy. And for some people, it's a bit more of an emotional thing, depending on family circumstances.
Well, I would say that because, you know, like I said at the beginning of the show, I do think that it can be quite emotional and also quite scary, and also something that maybe we kind of want to push away.
We absolutely do. Yeah, we don't want to think about it. We don't talk about it with our families. You know, we don't actually take that first step. I think that everybody knows, really, in the back of their head, that they need to write a will. I think everybody knows that, but it is taking that first step, and it's really difficult because you'll be sat there thinking, well, I've got to speak to someone about my family circumstances, I've got to go through all this information, I don't know what to do, I don't know what any of this terminology means. You don't have to worry about it. We will hold your hand through the whole process. We'll tell you exactly what we need to know. We'll give you plenty of time to think about it. You just have to trust us to guide you through that process. I can guarantee if you take that first step this morning, pick up the phone, send us a text, however you want to get in touch, you won't regret it. We will guide you through it, and you'll feel so much better for getting it done.
And super, super easy to do that as well. As I say, everything that you need to know is there on the side of the screen there. You can call in, and there is people in the office, actually in Lincoln, till 3 a.m. this morning. 0333 600 2600. If you don't want to speak to someone tonight, and completely understandable, if you just want to make that first step towards ensuring yours and your family and loved ones' future, just text the word will to 66777. Also, if you just want to fill in a form and allow someone to contact you again, then the way to do that is not to go to our website, it's to go to the website that you're seeing there on the screen, simplerlaw.co.uk/ShopOnTV. That will take you directly to the offers, the exclusive offers that we've got for you this evening. It comes to this page. You see that there. You can see the offers at the top. Fill in the form there, so you don't have to worry about speaking to someone and keeping someone awake in the other room. And someone will contact you, and they won't contact you too early, because we know that already it's quite late. So you probably don't want to be disturbed too early in the morning, from about 11 o'clock. And if they don't get hold of you, don't worry. If you think, oh no, I missed the call, don't worry. They'll try you again. So lots and lots of information coming up for you as we go through the show. But let's just have a little look at the reasons why you might want to choose Simpler Law. And all of these services are available for you. You can see it's not just your wills, it's not just your lasting power of attorney, but there's also trust planning there as well, and probate and court protection applications. Now, there's so many reasons why we do put off actually having our will done, but I think it's because it can be scary, and we're sort of a little bit aware of our own mortality. But actually, I had, well, not only my wills, but also I had my mum's lasting power of attorney done when we lost my dad about 7 years ago. And my mum moved in with me, and we had the whole conversation about how difficult it could be, and how difficult it was to sort my dad's estate out, because he was of an age where you didn't talk about it, and my mum didn't know where lots of the money was. She didn't know, she was terrified. She thought there's not going to be enough money to live on, but actually Dad had done everything right, but he hadn't given us the information. So we were all scattering around, my brother and I scattering around trying to find everything. Don't be like that. Get everything all set up. Make sure that you're not only looking after you, but you're looking after all of your friends, your family and your loved ones as well. We're going to be joined by our friends in Scotland in just a moment. A very, very good morning to you if you've just joined us, and our STV viewers, lovely to have you here on Shop on TV. Now, very rarely do we get the opportunity to actually bring something to our viewers here at Shop on TV that is life-changing, that is so important. Now, talking about wills, talking about lasting power of attorney, it can be scary. It can also feel like it just makes it all a bit too real. But actually, if we can put everything in place, then the fear is taken away from it. And then you know that you are looking after everything that you've spent your life investing in, you making sure that that can be passed on to the people that you genuinely want it to go to. You get to make choices about the future of your friends, your family, and your loved ones around you. And it's so important. Now, we are joined by our on-screen partners, Simpler Law. They're offering you some incredible deals this evening because you are watching us here on Shop on TV. You can see here that you've got incredible savings. If you were to go for your family and estate will, which would normally be £209, I have to say, I know how much I paid for my wills. Even at £209, that is exceptional value. But you are watching us at exactly the right time because you can see your Shop on TV offer price is £89. Now, you do also get the opportunity to spread that cost and make it much more affordable of £22.25 over 4 instalments, and it does save you £120. Now, your LPA, your lasting power of attorney, if you don't know what that is, and obviously for our Scottish viewers, there is one version of this and it has a slightly different name, but it is covered by this second line here. £349 is what it would normally be because you're watching us tonight or this morning, depending on which way you want to look at it. £179, giving you a saving of £170. And again, if you want to spread the cost, you can. £44.75 over 4 payments. If you want to do both, you want to get your will and you want to get your lasting power of attorney, look at the saving there, £309 saving. And again, you can spread that cost over 4, £62.25, making the cost £249. There's also I was going to say it's a free gift. It's so much more than that. It's such an important tool, I think, for actually making sure that everything is set up and easy and clear for your friends and family. Then the first 250 clients that contact Simpler Law tonight, whether it be via text or whether it be on the phone, you will get your What My Family Should Know book. That's worth £25. Now, this is the book here, and we're going to go through that. We're going to explain why this is so important. And actually, this information that's here on page 3 is utterly fascinating, and I'm going to get Andy, who's the CEO of Simpler Law, who's with us tonight, to take that through. But I just want to explain how you get in touch with Simpler Law tonight. It's not the regular number that you're using here. So if you want to go to the website, it's simplerlaw.co.uk/Shop on TV. There's a little form on there, and you can fill that in. That takes you directly to the offer page, simplerlaw.co.uk/Shop on TV. If you'd like to speak to someone tonight, there are people in the office, in the Simpler Law office, until 3 AM. You can pick the phone up and you can speak to them now if you would like to on 0333 600 2600, or if you just want to set the wheels in motion, but you don't actually want to speak to someone tonight, just text the word will to 66777. You can see there that there are hundreds of 5-star Trustpilot reviews, and we're going to read some of those to you a little bit later on. So that's where you get the feedback from other customers, other clients, but also this is an award-winning company, and we're going to talk to you about that a little bit later as well. But we can show you that award. Just last week, Simpler Law have won this exceptional award, and this is an industry award. So not only are they recognised by customers like yourselves, but also by the industry as well there. So which is exceptional pedigree and heritage, over 30 years of experience. It's going to be really clear when you hear from the CEO Andy Townsend, and Head of Legal Services, Helen Claydon. It's going to be, that experience exudes from both of you, and also the passion, I think, for what you do. An exceptional company. I mean, actually, let's go back to that award, if we may, actually, Andy, because I know it means an awful lot to you as CEO of Simpler Law, doesn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. We was over the moon just last week in Manchester, the British Wills and Probate Awards, which is one of the main awards in the industry, recognised by the industry, voted for by the industry, and of course it's one of the highlights, we believe, you know, of the awards, because it's estate planning firm of the year. So you know, as a large firm, which we are as well, so we was up at some extremely stiff competition, some very reputable companies as well, but we was extremely pleased to win that award as well, extremely proud. And we was all very excited on the night as well, and did celebrate. So yes, we are over the moon.
Oh, congratulations! And I mean, you know, having worked with you over the years at other channels, I know how passionate you both are, and your entire team. And it is that lovely kind of personal experience, the hand-holding, which I think is so important. We're going to be able to explain more of that as we go through the show. Helen, why though, when, you know, in this digital age, we've already touched on that a little bit, and there's so much that's available to us at the touch of a button on the internet, why would our customers at home come to Simpler Law to write for you to write their wills for them?
It is such an important and powerful document, and I think the reason we do these shows is we want people to understand about that. There is so much that you achieve with a will. Everyone knows it's about leaving your assets, but there's so much more than that. It's so powerful. You know, you're choosing the people who are going to administer your estate. You can appoint guardians for your children. You can pass on family heirlooms and things like that. And it's so important that you choose the right person to put that will in place. Now, at Simpler Law, this is what we do every single day. We've got a team of amazing consultants who you as a client will get to know. You'll have your own consultant that will hold your hand through the whole process. Don't take a chance when you're writing your will. Don't try and do it yourself. It is so important to get it right, because some of the saddest things we see, we deal with a lot of probate and estate administration, and we see those people who have planned and written a will and got it all in place, and it doesn't take the grieving away from the family.
No, of course not.
But it helps them to know, well, this is what Mum would have wanted. This is what she wanted. We know exactly what we need to do, and everything is going to happen just as she wanted. And then we see the flip side, where no planning has been done, or worse, they've attempted to do planning and it hasn't worked.
Or
so
it's not a
valid
legal
document. Exactly.
Right.
So then the family know what they wanted, but it's not going to happen because it's not been done properly.
Andy, I wonder if I could ask you, because obviously there's lots of kind of big words and terminology that's been bandied around. Probate, actually, if our viewers are watching and they look, well, I've heard this word, but what does it actually mean? Could you explain that for us?
Yes, well, when people pass on, by and large, if their estate is of a certain size, they have to pass through what's called probate. So in other words, it's the passing of an estate to their beneficiaries, and it's a legal process that they have to go through there. So you have to get a grant of probate there. Of course, you've got to collect your assets in. You've got to do forms for the HMRC there. There's various notices you've got to put in there. A lot of people try and do it themselves. A lot of people use professionals there. But there is a defined legal process there of passing an estate on, which we specialise in as well. That's another service that we offer to people as well. I say it's just a legal process of passing your estate on.
So I wanted to just sort of touch on the point that your award says that you are a large firm.
Yes.
However, we're saying that this whole process can feel like somebody holding your hand. Now, you've got a whole team of people on the end of the phone, and you can speak to someone tonight if that's what you want to do, or you can text the word will or fill in that form. But that client care team, if you are such a huge team, how can it feel like the hand holding? How can it feel like that personal touch?
because I don't think we've ever left the fact that, yes, we've grown over the years because more and more people have, we get referred by an awful lot of people, companies refer to us, so we've grown naturally over a period of years because of our reputation there. But what we've always tried to retain is that sort of family feel about it. But, you know, we feel, you know, we work very closely as a team as well. But the people that we train, we spend an awful lot of time recruiting the right people. That's very, very important. And, you know, people have got to have empathy. They've got to be able to, you know, understand people, you know, have that bit of life experience themselves. And, you know, so we come with a wealth of experience there. But when our team generally speak to you, because they are highly trained, the first thing you will notice is that you will immediately feel at ease. You know, so people think they're thinking, oh, I'm nervous, should I ring, what am I going to get? And that's often the barrier to we find that, you know, when customers
That
ring us and they've got through it, they went, do you know, we put it off. We've seen you 2 or 3 times, we've put it off. And we're so glad we did it. And it's almost like the sense of relief that when people have made the call, made the first move, it's like, oh, it's okay, because they're speaking to real people with experiences there. And so the first thing we'll get to know is this is about you. We're not going to throw big words at you. We're not going to throw, long sentences or anything technical there. You know, the question is, what would you like to happen? And of course, everyone's got an idea. They know what want to happen. It's in their head. But unless it's on paper in writing, it means nothing according to the law.
Right.
Yeah. So all we'll do is we'll sit there and say, look, talk to us, tell us what you want. And then, of course, when you start talking there, and then we'll suggest things, well, how we can do this, or how about, and it's like, oh, I didn't realise you could do that. And that's really great. And we hear, well, my situation is a bit, you know, is complicated. But trust us, we've heard everything over the years there. You know, we've done, it's actually 200,000 clients now, and Helen said 180, but it is 200,000 now. So, you know, we've split a lot of people this year. So, and you know, so when you come through to us, we'll just listen. And I think that's it. And we'll go at your pace. And we don't expect you to have anything ready tonight. There is just like, just make the contact there. And then, you know, we'll send you a booklet out and you can read that, and we'll give you time to think, and we'll take you down the line, and it will do it at your pace as well. So that's how we do it there. We've still got that family feel about us, you know, many years ago when we started there as a smaller business there, and we keep that. And the staff we've got, they are truly, truly excellent. And they actually really enjoy coming in now. And they come in at midnight, they work to 3. And they all love it, and they can't wait, and they have some great conversations with people as well, and they enjoy speaking to you as well, because they get pleasure out of it. Because when they've done a good job, and generally people thank them at the end, yeah, it's a real satisfying feeling. Yeah, you know, they enjoy this as much as when people speak to us.
That's what's so important, isn't it? Because it is a really, really scary thing. I completely understand that. I put off getting a will for years and years and years, far longer than I should have done, because we really don't know what's around the corner. You know, anything could happen. You know, you read about it in the news, you see it on the internet, you see it in social media. But also one of the things that potentially could put us all off doing this is because we think it's going to be something that's unaffordable for us. It's something that we can't achieve, and you know, unless you've got tons and tons and pots of things here, there and everywhere, why do we need a will? It doesn't matter. Of course it matters, because it's not just about money, is it? Sometimes it's about something that maybe grandma gave to you that you want to make sure it goes to the right person, an heirloom piece, a piece of art, a piece of jewellery. This ring was given to me from my great-grandma. It was passed down to me. Now, I don't have children. So, you know, we're going to go into that with Andy and Helen in a bit about what happens if you've got children or not got children. But I don't have children, so I have to make sure that someone that I genuinely want to get my lucky ring gets it. So it doesn't have to be about pots and pots of money. It's about your wishes. It's about what you want to happen with the things that mean something to you, that you can make sure it goes to the right person that you know will treasure it in the same way that you have done over many, many years. The great thing about Simpler Law is they really have made it simple. They really have made it clear and kind and empathetic, and will hold your hand right the way through the entire process. Let me share the offers with you again, because they are exceptional tonight here. on ShopOnTV. If you want to go for your estate, family and estate will, you've got a saving of £120 there, £89 tonight on ShopOnTV, and you can spread that cost again over 4 instalments of £22.25. Your LPA, don't worry, we're going to go into all of this. You don't have to be guessing as to what this means, so stay with us. £179 tonight, giving you a saving of £170. If you want to do both, £309 saving. Now, if you are within the first 250 clients to contact Simpler Law tonight, whether that be on the phone, whether that be the text or filling in the form, you are going to also receive your What My Family Should Know book. That's worth £25. I think it's actually worth a lot more than that. That might be worth what it's actually worth in, you know, in terms of actually making it. I think it's worth a lot more than that. And we're going to go into this in great detail. But Helen, you know, I just said about, you know, why I might need a will, but who would you say needs a will, and what do they need to do first?
So I think everyone needs to think about getting a will in place. I mean, as you just said there, everyone's circumstances are very different, and you said you haven't got children to think about, so you've got to think about where your estate would want to go. Everyone watching this show this morning will have different circumstances, and people will think, well, I don't need to think about a will because of X, Y, Z, and everybody needs to think about getting a will in place because it is such an important thing to do. And as we go through the show, we'll see all the important things that a will can do. So if you've got children, you need to think about a will for appointing guardians if they're under the age of 18. Right. If you're unmarried, you've got an unmarried partner, you need to make sure you've got a will in place because they will not receive anything if you die without a will. They will not be taken care of at all. If you've got specific gifts you want to leave, you have to put them into a legally binding will. So there are so many different scenarios, and I think we could talk until, you know, this time again tomorrow and still not talk about all the different reasons why a will is so important. What I would say is pick up the phone and talk to the staff in the office and talk about your circumstance, and we can advise you what you need to do and what needs to go into your will. Take that first step. You've got nothing to lose. Yeah. If you don't want to go ahead, that's absolutely fine, but pick up the phone and speak to us.
I think that's really important, actually, because none of this, whether you pick up the phone, whether you tap will and send it as a text, or you fill that form, there's no obligation here, is there? So this is just a first step, and if it's not right for you, that's it.
That's it. Have a conversation with us, and I can guarantee by the end of the conversation you'll feel a lot better about what you're doing. Everybody knows that they need to get a will in place. It's just taking that first step and getting over the first hurdle. And all you have to do this morning is reach out and get in touch with us by any of those methods. I bet everyone sat at home now has got their phone next to them. You know, it'd be so easy. Just pick it up, write the word will, send it to 66777, and we'll call you back tomorrow. Pick it up now.
Andy, why do you think that people do put off making a will?
Well, we are so busy, aren't we, these days? So, and it's partly apathy. You know, it's like, well, you know, I'll put it off, and then the other thing is life is busy, and life takes us by, and then before we realise it, you know, it's time slipped by, and another year's gone by, and we're approaching Christmas again, and the year seems to have gone nowhere. So we've got to, you know, we've got to bear in mind, and sometimes just take a step back and thinking, right, I've got to do it. Everyone knows they need to do it. It's funny, isn't it? That, you know, let's just be a little bit morbid for a minute. If we knew when we were going to die, we would all prepare for it.
Of course.
Now, I don't know, you know, I don't want to know that, and of course we don't know that, so then we put it off. But the sad fact is that in this country, on average, a person dies every minute. Yeah. So even by the time we finish today, that's about 180 people. And if you think at the moment, and on a global view, that there's 3 million people living today that in 1 year's time will not be here. Yeah. Wow. And of course, they don't know when it's going to happen, and of course we don't, you know, day to day there. And I'm not being morbid there. It's just that take the opportunity, and that's why we make it easy just to say, look, make the first contact and let us take you on the journey there. And you know what, the overwhelming response we have from our clients there, and even when you look on the, the Trustpilot and the reviews that we get there, it's just we're so glad we did it. We wish we did it before. We don't know why we didn't. And of course, it's because when we get into the groove of life, it just takes us by there. But do you know what? And I come back to it there, that when people know that it's done and that their family's provided for and they're looked after there, it's such a satisfying feeling there to them that they're overwhelmed by it sometimes, that they've done it, and it's that sense of relief then. And that's it. It's done. And and of course people may want to update in the future, whatever, that's fine, we can take care of that as well. But just take that first step there, and it's just taking that moment to go, I'm going to do it. Yeah. You can't, you can't do anything about it yesterday, you can't do anything about it tomorrow, but you can do it about now. And it's just taking that minute out there to make that contact and let us take you down the line.
Brilliant. Helen, I wonder though that there may be people watching at home that have already got a will. And so, can they still take advantage of these offers?
Of course, yeah. I mean, it's great if you've gone through that process before, but there's a few things that I'd say just to check. First of all, do you know where it is? Because there are so many times we speak to people and go, yeah, I've got a will, it's all done, or Mum's got a will, and you say, well, where is it? It's like, oh, I don't know. Did I store it somewhere? Have I got it at home? So always check that you know where it is. The second thing that's really important is it signed and witnessed correctly? Because so many times we get wills sent to us to deal with the estate when someone's passed away, and it's not been signed and witnessed correctly. Now, part of our service is that we will check. We send you really clear signing instructions, we tell you how to do it, and then we offer a checking service as well, so that we can make sure that that doesn't happen and that you know that your document's valid. But just check that. And then the key thing is, has anything changed? Has your circumstances changed? Has what assets you own changed? Has your family dynamics changed? Is it up to date? Does it still reflect what you want to happen when you pass away? So it's really important to review that. And if you want us to have a look at it and check whether it's valid and give you any advice around it, we're happy to do that. But again, it's just taking that step. So
again, yeah, it's just making sure that everything is set in place to make sure that it's a smooth transition if those circumstances do change. Andy, what would happen if you did pass away and you didn't have a will in place?
If you didn't have a will in place, you died, is what's called intestate. You died intestate. And so your estate will go by the laws of intestacy. So it's like having a government will. These are laws that were set down, and they were written, believe it or not, in 1925, so it's 100 years next year since these laws were written. And as you can imagine, things have changed a little bit over a period of time, over the last few years there. But what it will do is it will go by this government set of rules. So, for example, as Helen's already said, if it's an unmarried partner, they'll bypass that. And of course, for example, if you're on perhaps a second marriage there, and of course, your new partner could inherit, which means your children could lose out because it followed that family line. Or if there's no family there, then it could go to brothers, sisters, parents, cousins there, and if all else fails, it could even go to the state. But what it won't do is it won't look after your ring, in your case. It won't take any account of that. It won't take any account of gifts. It won't take any, account whether, your wishes of did you want to be buried or cremated. It won't take an account of any funeral wishes there. It will just go by a set of lines. Do you know what? In 200,000 wills that we've written, we've never written a will that reflects the laws of intestacy. Yeah. So, and of course, in this modern society, with blended families now, it is far removed now from what it is. But like I say, we've never written a will yet that reflects the laws of intestacy.
So it just shows you actually how muddled we can get with what we think is going to happen and what actually would happen. And when you have a company like Simpler Law that can take you through the entire process and hold your hand, make it super, super easy and clear to make sure that your wishes are genuinely carried out when you're no longer here. Helen, So we talked about there, and we looked at the rules of intestacy there, and the first question, the sort of starting point there was if you're married or if you're just in a partnership and living with your long-term partner. So many of us may assume that your partner will automatically get everything.
Yes.
And also take care of everything if you pass away suddenly. But what happens to your children, for example, if the worst happened and both parents were to die at the same time?
Yeah, it's not something that people want to think about. They don't want to think about not being around to see their children grow up. But sadly, it does happen. And I think if you do have children under the age of 18, this is really important. This is a really vital reason why you have to get a will in place. Now, if you write a will, you can choose guardians for your children. So we've talked obviously about leaving assets, and you can leave assets to children, and you can say what age they inherit and all that kind of thing, all the usual things. But one of the key things is appointing guardians for your children. Now, if you don't have a will and you don't appoint guardians, it then becomes very difficult. Imagine your children are now in a position where they've lost their parents and they're waiting for one of the family to step up and effectively take on that role as guardian. Now, it might not be the person that you would have chosen. It might be that there are people on different sides of the family that then think, well, they'd have wanted, wanted me to have them, or, you know, and it can become really messy. The very worst case scenario that can happen is that children can actually become something called a ward of court. So they can be taken into care while everything's sorted out. I mean, that's quite rare, but you can imagine at a time when they've lost their parents and things are all up in the air, what you want is for your chosen person to come in and look after those children and make sure that they're looked after, make sure they're still having contact with their friends and family, perhaps choose someone where they're not going to have to relocate schools. All those little things that you have to consider, and unless you put that in a will, it is not going to happen. And sadly, we've seen it where it can become very difficult, very messy. And one of the biggest reasons for family fallouts is where somebody dies without a will in place, because nobody knows what that person would have wanted. And everyone's got their own opinions on it.
Assumptions.
Yeah, but unless it's in a legally binding document, people can't follow those wishes. So it's so important. If you've got children under the age of 18, writing a will is a key thing for you to do for them.
So it's very clear that actually that we do need to get a will in place, you know, to make sure that our wishes are carried out, whether it be children, whether it be assets. But why in this digital age, why can't we just whip onto the internet and download a template and fill it in?
Well, you can. But we wouldn't recommend it, and I'll tell you why. It's because you see these templates and you have to look at them. You know, just fill this template, and even on the back of the template it says, "Now please take professional advice before you sign this." So yes, you can. But unless it's signed in a way and witnessed in a correct way, it's not valid anyway. And then even if you do, is it really valid? It's a bit late after you've died to realise there's a mistake. And I'll give you an example. And we had this client rang into us, this elderly lady a few years ago now, and she rang into us, and it was a very sad story. She was married for many, many years. There were homeowners, and the house was in his name, in the husband's name.
Right.
And we do see many couples, and the house is in one person's name for various reasons. The house was in his name, and they had a son. And what they wanted to do, we thought very, very simple. We want it to go to our son. So they both wrote their own wills on the template there that one of us die. If I die, it's to go to my children. And you think, well, that's perfectly reasonable there. But they missed out the essential element there that one person's going to die first. So well, surely wouldn't it go to the remaining surviving spouse? But because they didn't put that in there, and it was a valid will, that yes, they'd written it all properly, and this will came about, that the son had immediately inherited. So she was still alive, but the son had now inherited the house because it was in his name.
Gosh.
Now the son was in financial trouble. He was insolvent. he was in an IVA, or where you have these debt situations there, facing bankruptcy with that. So now, of course, the creditors have got wind, and now, well, there's a house here, there's an asset, we want the asset.
So it wasn't that the son was trying to move Mum
not
out.
at all.
It was the fact that the creditors now found that there was money.
That's right. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
That's right.
It's horrendous.
So now, she's all upset because suddenly then she's going to lose her house. She's been in this house for 40, 50 years. Now. We couldn't help in that. We couldn't help. It was too late. So I don't know what the outcome was. But what I can tell you, it was an extremely distressing situation for her. She was an elderly lady. She's lost her husband there. But because they try to do it themselves, this asset, and of course, we know what house values are like these days, that the average house is over £200,000, is for the cost of £89, to make sure that it's done properly. It's on us, yes? We're covered with insurance. We're professionals. We will help you write it, and we will tell you the best way to write it, and we will take care of it all for you, and we'll even check make sure you've signed it free of charge after to make sure it's a valid will for £89 or £22 odd a month over 4 months there. And it's almost like I'm not going to do my own dentistry. If I've got toothache, I'm going to go see a dentist. If I want to get a car serviced, I'm going to take it to a garage. If you write a will, go see a professional. There are reputable firms out there, and of course, there's us. And of course, all you've got to do is send that text or drop a phone call there, and we'll even speak to you now live. We've got people in there that will speak in the first step there. So it's almost like, just take the first step. But please, whatever you do, even if it's not us, please don't do it yourself.
Yeah.
We've seen this disaster after disaster after disaster, and you might think it's simple there, but sometimes it's just the detail that people miss can cause problems.
So important to make sure that you've done everything correctly, to make sure that your wishes are carried out later. I know it's a really difficult thing to deal with, and I know it makes us more kind of aware of our own mortality, but actually, if we weren't here tomorrow, if you or I wasn't here tomorrow and we hadn't got the will in place, and suddenly you could look back, you've got a crystal ball and you could look and you can go, but that's not what I wanted. That is not what was supposed to happen. But actually, by having something as simple as a will in place can make sure that your wishes are taken forward. So everything you've worked for, everything that you've achieved can be passed on to the people that you really, really want it to go to. And it's so simple, because none of this, I don't want you to feel that you're being pressured. Even if you do pick the phone up tonight and you speak to someone in the office, even if you do text the word will to 66777, you are not obligated. This is just a first step to see whether this is right for you, and also to make sure that you can use those offers that we're offering, well, Simpler Law are offering you tonight via ShopOnTV. Amazing offers that make it affordable for absolutely everyone. Do make sure that you either pick up the phone 0333 600 2600 or text the word will to 66777, or of course you can go to the special webpage, which is simplerlaw.co.uk/ShopOnTV. So Helen, we understand now what can be achieved by writing our own will. I wonder if you could take us through some of those, make it really clear what we could do, because it's not just about your house, it's not just about savings, it's not just about the pension.
Yeah.
And you talked about the sort of personal aspect.
Yeah.
I wonder if you could talk to us about, who you could choose to actually take your wishes forward.
Yeah, so we talk about appointing executors in a will, and it sounds quite a technical term, but it's actually the person that you're then trusting to deal with your estate.
Okay.
So this is the person who is going to collect in all your assets and make sure they are distributed according to the terms of your will. So it's quite an important role, really. And as we talked about at the top of the show, it's a legal process. Dealing with estate administration and the probate process is quite a structured legal process. So it's quite an onerous task for someone to take on, and they do actually take on personal liability as well. So they're taking responsibility for their actions. So if they get it wrong, it's them that's personally liable. So you need to make sure that the person you're appointing is, first of all, up for the job, you know, have a conversation with them and ask them if they're okay and happy to do that, and make sure that they know what they're doing and that they're comfortable with that. Now, as we talked about, we help a lot of executors of estates deal with that estate where they decide that it's too much for them, they don't want to take on that responsibility, and we can then help by dealing with the administration of the estate. Some people choose to appoint us as executors in their will from the start. Sometimes if there's something...
It doesn't have to be an individual.
No,
it
no.
could actually be you
and
as a
quite,
company.
yeah, quite often where it's something a little bit contentious in the will, or something where they think, well, actually I'm disinheriting somebody. So that's a big thing that people do in their wills. Sadly, families fall out and they want to make sure that people don't get it, but they know that there might be trouble when they're not around. They quite often appoint a professional executor, so that there is that professional there stepping in, and it's kind of like that barrier between the families, so that it doesn't become very personal then between the families. So the choice of executor is really critical. Other things that you do in your will, we talked about guardians and choosing guardians and that being really important. But it's also thinking about how your assets are inherited. So it's, do you have specific cash gifts? Do you want it just split equally? If you're passing it to your children, what age do you want your children to inherit? Because if you don't write a will, they automatically inherit at 18. And you know, for a lot of people, they say, oh, wow, I'm not sure they'd be responsible enough to inherit at 18, and they prefer to stipulate an age of kind of 21 or 25 and do it that way. So you can do that within your will. Making charitable gifts, funeral wishes as well. A lot of people put their funeral wishes. We've written some really interesting wills, and I had a conversation with someone the other day about the music that they wanted at their funeral, and some of it is just... It's hilarious. I find it so fascinating that people want specific music, and they're doing it deliberately because they don't want it to be a morbid thing.
Well, it's interesting you should say that, because my dad asked to have the match of the day.
Brilliant. That's great.
Played at his funeral.
Yeah.
He was a footballer.
Yeah.
And he also wanted, that was the final piece of music, he wanted it to be uplifting.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting because it might be something that you would never think that you could put in a will, but it's these
so personal
issues that you
It's like looking after your pets as well. A lot of people, for them, their pets are more important than their assets.
Yes.
And they want to make sure if they're not around that their pets are being looked after by the person that they want to look after, and perhaps leaving a cash gift to make sure that that happens, or even a donation to an animal charity to help the charity to rehome the animal. All those kind of things that you think about. And it's only by having a conversation with someone and learning about them and their family dynamics and what's important to them, can we actually give them the advice about how to structure their will. And effectively, we ask the questions, but you've got all the answers. So although you don't know what to expect perhaps from the consultation, and you might be concerned about knowing about how many pennies you've got in a bank account and things like that, that's not entirely what it's about. It's more about getting to know your personal circumstances and what's important. And that's why the only way to do it is to pick up the phone or reach out and get in touch with us so that we can start that conversation.
You can see all of those contact details on the screen there. So even as we're asking these questions, you can see all of that information there that's on the screen. Andy, we've talked a lot about wills coming into the show, but you're also offering a discount on lasting power of attorney as well. So I wonder if you could tell us a little bit more about what that means.
Yes, a will if you like, look after your family or your estate and your family needs when you pass on. But a power of attorney handles affairs when you are unable to. So you're still alive, and you're incapacitated. And the first thing we all think of is dementia, and there's a lot there that it's a really high number that 1 in so many of us are going to suffer from this now. I can remember the figure, but it was just 1 in 3, or was it? I don't know.
Really?
But it was. I remember the number, but it's very high.
Yeah.
It's very, very high. Or it might be 1 in, but whatever. But it's a very, very high number. And of course, we immediately think of that now. And there's been a lot of media attention on this as well. But there's other things as well with people who are incapacitated there, and you know, with perhaps being ill in hospital. Yeah, you know, people, you know, very ill in hospital that are incapacitated in some way, that may have temporarily not be able to look after you know, their own matters. So what a power of attorney can do is it will nominate someone that you trust to be in your shoes, if it like. You know, they can act as they are you, so they can make sure the household is running, your business is still running. You know, that decisions are made there, and even health decisions are made. It's an incredibly valuable document there that is there for your protection. So it essentially acts when you're unable to.
Okay. Well, Helen, we talked a little bit earlier in the show about misconceptions surrounding wills, or what might happen after you die. Are there similar misconceptions when it comes to, you know, incapacity, or you know, not being able to make decisions for yourself?
Definitely. And I think they're quite similar, actually. I think people assume that everything will be okay, that surely there has to be some law or legislation that would make everything okay. And it really doesn't. I think people assume that, especially if they're married couples, they think that if perhaps one of them was incapacitated, so was ill or suffering from dementia or some tragic illness like that, that the other one would automatically be able to carry on and deal with their assets. And if you think about it, if you phone any organisation now, or if you speak to a bank, the first thing they do is ask, are you the account holder?
Yes.
And if you say no, they won't talk to you.
No.
And even if you are the account holder, you've still got to go through all those security things and things like that. And actually, if you've not got any legal authority to act on someone's behalf, you can't deal with their assets, you can't pay their bills, you can't access their accounts. And I think there is this assumption that, well, surely that's not right because I have to carry on. And actually, when someone loses capacity, they then become a vulnerable person in the eyes of the law. And quite rightly, when you think about it, the law then automatically protects them. And they then become a protected person so that nobody can interfere with their assets, which is the right thing to do. But if you're married to that person or a family member of that person and you're desperately trying to sort things out for them, you can constantly come against brick walls. So you need a power of attorney in place to make sure that the situation is a lot simpler.
Andy, so this term, lasting power of attorney, or we're seeing it shortened to LPA when we're looking at the offers screen there. Is it one document, or do we have different options?
We have, well, very briefly, in Scotland it's one document, which is an enduring power of attorney. But in England and Wales, there are two documents, the lasting powers of attorney. So there is a lasting power of attorney called Property and Affairs, and it does exactly what it says on the tin. So this deals with financial matters, you know, bank accounts, insurance policies, benefits, etc., etc., with all of these practical everyday matters, household things there. And then the other one is called health and welfare, and again, is as the name suggests there. So these are more personal decisions there. If you're incapacitated, it's, you know, choosing the medication, choosing the medical treatment, choosing where to live, choosing, you know, all personal things there, you know, of how to dress, etc. Things that we take for granted every single day then, but if that was taken away from us, well, unless we give that authority to someone we trust, that can fall in the hands of medical or local authorities to make them decisions on our behalf. So that is what the two powers of attorney do. Two distinctive documents that focus on two distinctive areas.
So very, very different issues there. Obviously, the will is all about making sure that perhaps our assets or our heirlooms are passed on the way that we want them to be, that our children are looked after, that the right guardians are put in place. But then when it comes to the LPAs, that's meaning that while you are still alive, someone can help you continue in the way that you want to live your life. And that is why Simpler Law have put this exceptional deal together for you this evening, or this morning, while you're watching us here on Shop on TV. So I just want to actually share those offers with you, so that you can see exactly what you can achieve for yourself, for your family, for your future as well. Now, one of the other things that I think is brilliant that Simpler Law have done is that they've actually also offered you instalments, if you like, interest-free payments, a way of making it even more affordable and achievable for every single one of us, to make sure that everything that we want to do is put in place. Now, I wanted to ask Andy a question, because we were chatting before the show about how prices, everything, not just obviously legal services, but everything is going up, isn't it? So how have you managed to keep these offers so achievable for everyone?
Well, the prices have gone up. Funny enough, for this show, our top line price has gone up, as we said last time. So our prices went up on the 1st of October. What we've actually done is we kept the offer price the same. So what we're able to do, we deal with an awful lot of people there. So now and again, what we're able to do is to put an offer on there, and for people to come to us there, and it's a way of providing affordable services for them. So we do this on a few occasions every year there. And so we offer to do them at a discounted price for people. It's essential that everyone there has these places in provision there. There is little education in this country. People I meet, oh yes, what do you do? Oh, wills. It's a big conversation killer. And they go, well, it's almost like, oh, I need one of them. Yeah, and that's it. And that's the end of the conversation. But if people understood why they need one, which is why we do this show, then it's like, well, actually, do you know what? I must do that. And then it goes to the after it. I wish we'd done it before. Why didn't we know about this? Because there is little education. So that we do this to promote to promote not only our services, but the fact that people need a will. Hence why we come on and do this 3 or 4 times a year. So we can make people aware of it. So people can learn and get themselves sorted. It is distressing. It's distressing for our staff when we get calls, and we do get calls every week there, because people do know us there, and we do get referred there that people haven't used us, and then suddenly that we hear all sorts of very, very sad stories there, of people losing estates and people losing inheritances, and even estates there which are not being distributed properly or being abused there. And there's been a sharp increase last year of lawsuits there of executors not distributing estates properly, or beneficiaries not receiving what they want, or estates disappearing, or cash disappearing, and all sorts of horror stories that we're hearing there. And there's been a rise in court cases, even people challenging wills there, and wills being overturned because they've not been written well, or people have tried to do it themselves. So this is about making people aware and just saying, look, let's make it affordable. Let's get as many people as we can to make a will. The benefits, are far-reaching. You don't make a will for yourself. You're doing it for your family. It's for them.
It's for the future.
That's right. I've been through it. My family was in fact, my family never spoke again with my grandparents, and and then with all the daughters there, and it's like, well, he was going to be buried, and he told me he wanted to be cremated, and he didn't put it in writing, and all this, and it just tore the family apart. And one big reason for family fallouts is this: when someone dies there, you put it in writing, and you let your family know what you would like to happen to your estate. Very clearly, in writing, signed correctly. It's a legal document, and it's the only way.
And this is exactly why I said right at the top of the show about the, very rarely on shopping television do we get the opportunity to bring you something which is life-changing, something that really genuinely matters. Shopping telly is great for bringing you lots of fun deals and impulse purchases, but actually to have something like this, to have Simpler Law here, our on-air partners, to actually bring something so important And I'm so pleased that you're watching us this evening. Don't forget, all of the contact details that you've got there are they're ready for you. People in the office until 3 a.m, can you believe? But they are there on 0333 600 2600. If you want to text the word will to 66777, then somebody will contact you tomorrow. It won't be too early because obviously it's well past 1 a.m. now, so it's not going to be at 8 o'clock in the morning, probably mid-afternoon now. And if you want to just fill in a little simple form, then go to our dedicated web page, which is simplerlaw.co.uk/ShopOnTV. Helen, now, tell me what might happen if you were in a position where, well, yourself or perhaps a family member is incapacitated and there isn't an LPA, a lasting power of attorney, in place. What could happen?
Yeah, so the important thing to remember with a lasting power of attorney is that you have to do it now while you're fit and well. If someone loses capacity without a power of attorney in place, it's then too late. And we get a lot of phone calls where people phone up and say, oh, I need to get a power of attorney in place for my mum. And then when we have a conversation, we find out that mum has already lost capacity and it's too late to do that, right. Which is really difficult. We have a court of protection department that deals with applications to the court of protection, and that's the only route to go down if there isn't a power of attorney in place. So the application is made to the court for something called a deputyship order, and effectively that gives somebody the power to act on that person's behalf. So it's very similar in the power that it gives, but the process is entirely different. So there's a court application. It's a lengthy document. It's a lot of free text boxes, and you have to justify why you're the correct person. Because that individual has no longer got a voice for themselves to say, yes, I trust my daughter or my son to deal with my assets. That person then has to justify. Yeah, so they have to undergo a financial assessment as well to make sure that they're capable of managing somebody else's finances. It's quite a difficult application. The fees associated with that application are absolutely horrendous. I think you've got the fees all there.
Yes, we have.
So
Look at that.
The application fee itself is over £400.
For just a loan, just to apply to the court?
That's just the court fee before they'll even look at the application.
Okay.
The assessment fee is to assess that you're a suitable person, so that is carried out on every deputy that is applying. If the court then decide, well, actually, we want a hearing, so we want you to come in and so that we can ask you some questions. There's an additional almost £500 fee for that. And then that supervision fee there, that's actually an annual fee, and that's the cost for the court to supervise that deputyship going forward. So it's an annual supervision fee. So you can see the fees stack up. So if you were just looking at this from a financial point of view, there is absolutely no comparison between the cost of a court of protection application and the cost of getting a power of attorney in place.
Now, just a question though, this fee, so we're looking at that £1,322 there.
Yeah.
Can that be offset against an estate?
No, the person's still alive at the moment.
You have to find
the difficult,
that money.
yeah, the difficult thing is obviously you can't access that person's finances because you haven't got authority.
Yes.
So you have to get the authority before you can access that person's finances. So it's a horrendous situation, and the finances are shocking, but actually the practical implications are so much worse. The court of protection procedure is currently taking about 12 months.
Oh my goodness.
So you can imagine that mum or dad has lost capacity, you're trying to help them, you're trying to pay their bills, maybe even pay for their care or something like that, but you can't access their finances. So you're having to find that money yourself and deal with all that and go through this horrendous court process. And all you want to do is look after mum or dad that needs your help. That should be your main focus, not this horrendous court procedure. And it can all be avoided by having a power of attorney in place. So I know that there will be children watching the show who will be thinking, I wonder if my mum and dad have got one of these, because I don't want to be in that position. And we quite often get phone calls saying, can I do this for my mum and dad? Well, yes, absolutely. We need to speak to them, obviously, but yeah, we can get that in place.
So Andy, to avoid all of those fees, those terrifying and eye-watering fees that we just saw on the screen there, what would our viewers need to do to be ready to set up these lasting power of attorneys?
They don't need to do anything to be ready now. All they've got to do is make the contact. Okay. So it's like, well, who's my attorney going to be? And you know, what about this? Nothing like that. Don't need to worry about that now. You know, ring, secure the offer. You know, that you can do that straight away by calling in on 0333 600 2600. I will get that right. Or texting on 66777 the word will, and the website, which is on the screen. So they can do anything of them. Just make the first contact there. If it's a text, we'll call you after 11 o'clock tomorrow. If you ring in, we'll speak to you straight away.
So it doesn't matter that the word will doesn't mean you're just talking about the will. It's just a way of making contact.
It's the way of making contact. What he's saying is, please give me a call tomorrow. I'm going to go to bed. Don't call me until after 11. Give me a call. Here's my number. That's all we need, and we'll make contact with you.
It's those first
and a lot of people do. A lot of people call us, and like I say, if the phone's very busy, just please bear with us, because I know it does. But if you text us, then we'll call you tomorrow. And of course, if we don't get you, we'll try again. So don't worry that you're going to lose it, because you won't. And you know, and if it's not tomorrow, it'll be the day after. That's absolutely fine. Just make the contact, and then it's after we've had that initial conversation with you, it starts dropping in your mind, and it's, oh yes, actually, yeah, and oh yeah, I could go to, oh, I'll ask them or whatever, and then we'll give you suggestions. We're not going to do anything till you're happy. Yeah, you know, and then it means you can gather your thoughts there. We'll give you some practical suggestions there, and we'll give you help, and then we'll write the document for you. And it's a simple process as that.
So Helen, okay, I've got my lasting power of attorney.
Yep.
What happens next?
So the biggest thing is to make sure that it's signed and witnessed correctly. The same as a will, there's a legal process to make sure that it's signed correctly. So again, we'll give you the instructions, we'll talk you through it if we need to. In the office, the girls are great at putting sticky tabs on and labels and all that kind of thing. The thing with the LPA is that there's an order in which it has to be signed by all the attorneys and the donor, and so we'll talk you through all that, make sure it's all legal and ready to go, which is the really important thing. You have to do that now while you've got capacity to do so. What happens before it can be used is that it has to be registered with something called the Office of the Public Guardian. So they keep a central register of all powers of attorney. There's a small fee. There are exemptions available, but it might be £82, might be £41 to register it with the Office of the Public Guardian. Not everyone chooses to register it straight away. For a lot of people, getting the document in place is the important thing. Then they store it somewhere securely and make sure it's there ready to be used.
So what you're saying is, if you've got the document in place,
yes,
you don't then have to register it until you need
You don't have to. No, that's correct. Some people choose to do it straight away, but for other people, they're like, well, let's put it away somewhere safe just in case, and hope that my family never have to use it, but it's there in case. I mean, if you compare registering it with the Office of the Public Guardian, it will take a few weeks to do that, but you're not looking at the 12-month period that you'd be looking at with a court of protection.
Right.
So the key thing is get the document done, get it signed, store it somewhere safe, tell your family where it is. We offer a range of storage options as well, so we can talk to you about that at the same time if you're concerned about where it's going to be stored. But make sure it's somewhere safe and the family know, and that's the important thing.
Right. So now we talked quite a lot about the health version of an LPA, lasting power of attorney, but what about the other one, the property and affairs? What's that going to help us with, Andy?
This will help us with making practical financial decisions. So interesting enough, even if you're married, and you've got a joint bank account,
yes,
yeah, and the bank know that one of you lost capacity, your joint bank account is frozen.
Really?
Absolutely. And people don't realise this. Or, for example, you know, husband and wife, and you know, the husband loses capacity, or you know, one person in there, and that they need to make decisions. Well, perhaps we need to make downsize, or perhaps we need to, you know, we need to make some alterations to the house, and we need to raise some money. They can't do anything with that property if it's in joint names. So even though we're married there, but because my partner can't sign, so I can't move, I can't downsize, I can't raise money on it, I can't get the alterations done because I can't raise the money on it, I can't access my joint bank account, and people miss this there, that if a person in a relationship with joint assets loses capacity, and they know, that is then frozen until this court of protection order. And people miss, this is such an important thing. But even if, okay, perhaps it's a single, just one person, you know, and then of course it's like we've already said, well, you know, no one's got the authority to pay the bills, you know, or to make sure the bank account is paying them direct debits to make sure things are going on and perhaps not falling into arrears or issues there. Or perhaps they need benefits. Well, you haven't got any authority to claim benefits on their behalf. You know, this is a big one there. So these need these benefits, but there's no power of attorney, you can't claim their benefits. And this is, and people miss it. It's such an important document, such a simple document.
I was going to say, it's such a simple thing and can make such a massive difference.
And we know, because when we've done the show before, people, I had no idea about that. And, you know, we've had, and I can recall one particularly sad case where we had a daughter ring in with mum. And she said, look, you know, and she said, look, I need to get this in place. But she'd already lost capacity. And the reason why she wanted to get into place is because someone who was caring for her, she was concerned that this person was taking money from her out of her bank account there. So she was so afraid that money was going missing. And we had this, you know, very sad situation, and she just said, I've tried to speak to the bank, but they won't speak to me, and I know it's going missing, and I can't do anything. Well, we can go for a court of protection. Great, you know, how long will that take? Well, it could take a year. And of course, and they're distraught because they have no power. And we hear this, you know, firsthand, you know, and this is why it frustrates when people say, oh well, I don't need one, it'll all be okay, you know, and some people, there's some people might be superstitious, or if I do something will happen to me. Well, you know,
yes,
okay,
yes.
Sometimes you know, people believe that, but seriously, you know, it's such an important document. That's why we come on there, you know, and we talk about it, yeah, so passionately, because we see the other side. Yeah, it's such a simple thing. For the cost of, you know, okay, making a will or even a power of attorney, even over 3 or 4 months there, people are paying more than that on having watching television,
or the Friday night takeaway.
Absolutely, there, you know. So just the cost of that, and then once it's done, it's done. You only need to do it once there, and this is why we urge people there is just, you know, listen and think about it there, because we see it firsthand, our staff see it firsthand there, and if they really and truly know the consequences, all the things that I've just described is 100% accurate there. It can be resolved so simply and quickly.
I'm actually speechless, which doesn't actually happen very often. But I mean, I look after my mum. My mum lives with me. We do have LPAs in place for both health and for finance. But the whole idea of if it was my mum and somebody was caring for her, and I suddenly was thinking, oh, there's something really dodgy going on here. I tell you what I do, I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to speak to the bank. And they say to me, oh, I'm sorry, Miss Lindsay, but I can't speak to you because you don't have the authority to talk to me about your mum's money. But there's someone else in my mum's house who's potentially taking her money away from me. That is so distressing. And something so incredibly simple can take that distress, can take that fear away. Sometimes I think that when we're looking at things like wills and looking at lasting power of attorney, we're sort of taking the independence away from someone, from our loved one. But actually what we're not doing is we're actually giving them that independence for longer. We're giving them the opportunity to make sure that everything you wanted, whether it's how you like to be dressed in the morning, the sort of food that you want to eat, knowing that you can take mum or dad or sister or cousin or whoever it might be to their favourite shop or to their favourite restaurant and actually be able to buy them that meal but that they want to do. But if you haven't got that access, if you haven't given someone that you know knows you incredibly well, who knows how you like to live your life, if you haven't given them that opportunity to do that, it could fall into all of the wrong hands. This is absolutely mind-blowing to me. But actually, to have something as simple as your LPAs that Andy's been talking about there, it might feel really scary. It might think, oh, maybe I don't want to. And I'm not trying to do selling with fear. That's not what I'm trying to do at all. I'm trying to say that we have an opportunity here to do the right thing, to make sure that everything that we've worked for, tried to achieve our entire lives, doesn't have to be taken away overnight because you can't make decisions for yourself. And actually, by doing something really, really simple, as picking up the phone or perhaps writing Will on that text number, you can change that. You can take control for your future. Helen, I wanted to ask you, how do our viewers take advantage of these offers that you've both put, well, that the whole team have put together?
They just have to get in touch. There'll be people thinking, well, actually, I'm not sure I'm ready because I don't know what I want. Like if they know they want to get a will, or I don't know who I want to benefit. You don't need to know any of that this morning. You just need to get in touch, because what will happen is once you've got in touch and we've spoken to you, we'll then make an appointment at a really convenient time to go through that with you. And we'll send you a load of information as well, so you know the sorts of questions we're going to be asking. So it will give you time to kind of prepare.
So it really is just a first step.
It really is. This morning is just that first step. Don't worry about everything else, because we'll control the process going forward and make sure that it's at a pace that's comfortable to you. And we'll make sure that we only produce your documents when you're 100% happy with the instructions that you've given to us.
And even then, this is a genuine question, even then you prepare that document, and if when you get it home and you go, oh no, that's not quite what I meant, is that an issue?
No, of course. Yeah, you can then phone and speak to your consultant and say, actually, this is what I was trying to achieve, you know, this is what I want to happen. But I mean, that's quite rare, because by the time we've gone through the consultation and gone through all your circumstances and what you want to achieve and asked all those questions, you know, it might be that you actually say, well, actually, I need to appoint guardians, but I need a bit of time to think about it. And that's fine, because you can then take the time to think about it, go and speak to the people that you're thinking of appointing, and then we'll make another appointment to finish the instructions when you've had chance to think about that. There's no rush. You know, it's at your pace. We do it at your pace.
If it takes one phone call, if it takes 10 phone calls, it doesn't matter.
That's exactly right. Yeah, exactly right. But this morning is just about securing the offers. Take advantage of the great deals, because as Andy said, our general prices went up a little while ago, but we've managed to keep these show prices down because we want to reach as many people as possible.
Well, let's show you those offers actually, because they are genuinely incredible. And you know, as both Andy and Helen have said, the overall prices have gone up. They went up on the 1st of October, but you can see your ShopOnTV offer prices are still incredibly affordable. The family and estate will, and we're going to go back to wills in a moment. I know we've been concentrating on the LPAs, but if you want to go for just your will, £89, because you are watching us at exactly the right time, making you that saving of £120. And again, you can spread the cost if that's right for you. You don't have to, but it's there for you with those interest-free instalments of £22.25. You can go for just a lasting power of attorney. It might be the health one, it might be the property and affairs one, or you might want to go for both. That's completely up to you. You're making a saving of 170 on each of those lasting power of attorneys there. Spread the cost if you want to, £44.75, and you can see the normal cost is £349, but because you're watching Shop on TV, £179 if you want to go for both. If you want to do your will and an LPA at the same time, the saving is extraordinary, £309. £62.25. I mean, you know, Andy was saying about, you know, the cost of a takeaway on a Friday night. Actually, I don't think you'd get 4 Friday night takeaways for £62.25. I really don't think so. And actually, when you think about the peace of mind that this will give you and your family as well, it is a very, very small price to pay. Now, we talked about the Trustpilot reviews, haven't we? It keeps flashing up that we've got these 5-star Trustpilot reviews. Let's share some of them with you. Some of them are really very, very heartwarming. This one's from Jean here, who says, I was rather nervous to begin with. From the very beginning, every person I spoke to put my worries at rest. It was a very simple procedure, and I will be recommending them to anyone I know who hasn't got a will yet. Let me share some more with you. This is from Sandra. I never recommend any services, but I definitely recommend Simpler Law. Very knowledgeable staff. I think you're seeing that, obviously, with Andy and Helen here in the studio. Explained every step in detail and provided further advice and information. And let me give you a review from David here, who says, I spoke with Bjorn today about getting a will document drawn up. A very polite and friendly person who is also very professional and efficient. He guided me through the process in a concise and clear manner. Very happy with the customer service, the great customer service I received today. Thanks. And lots and lots and lots more of those to share with you. But Andy, I think it was something that you were saying earlier, and it clearly, the passion shines out from both of you about what you do. But also you were talking about the fact that the feedback that you get is very heartwarming, because obviously it is a business, but it's a business born out of wanting to care for people, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, because it's a, you know, it's very satisfying from a staff point of view, because, you know, they'll get someone on the phone and to share the journey with them. And of course, you know, people are talking about the family there, and they do get involved. They do get involved, and you know, you know, when they ring the back, oh, how did you get on? And you know, with various events and things, and we even get cards turning up in the office. We from clients thanking us.
Thank you, cards.
And yes, we get
chocolates occasionally.
We get chocolates and cakes occasionally.
Oh.
We do, which are all very nice. But we all get to try them. But it is very satisfying, because when you see someone there that comes on, and as some of them reviews said, and people come on and they're a little bit nervous and they've never done it before, or you know, they're unsure of what they've got and they want to check it through, and at the end of it, you know, whatever the outcome is, it's like, oh, do you know what, thank you, you know, we just really appreciate that and what you've done for us. And for them, for their point of view, there's a real deep sense of satisfaction when you've done something for your family and the outcome is there, that you know that they're sorted, they know it's protected, they know it's written down there, and it's a real comforting feeling. It's a deep sense of satisfaction there, and it is pleasurable. It's a positive experience. People think, oh, talking about it's negative, and you know, we've touched on some sad events tonight, which unfortunately is life, but it is a positive experience for people, that once they go through it, almost all of our clients say the same thing. It's like, we thank you, and we're really pleased we've done it.
Wish I'd done it before.
Yeah, we wish I'd done it before.
Yeah, I'm sure. Helen, can we go back to wills, please? And I think there's so many myths, so many misconceptions that go around making a will, aren't there?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of this is born out of the fact that people don't go looking for the information in the right places. You know, they'll have little snippets of conversation and, you know, hear different things or do a bit of their own research. And this leads to kind of this belief that actually everything will be okay. And I think this is a lot of what puts people off writing a will, because there are a lot of people out there who are deciding not to go ahead and putting a will in place without really understanding the consequences of not doing that. And I think some of the main ones that we come across are things like unmarried partners. So if people are in a relationship, they might have been together 20, 30 years, they might have children together, own a house together. If something happened to one of them and they died, the other one is not entitled to receive anything at all from their estate without a will in place.
So this sort of term that's been bandied around, common law, husband or wife.
Yeah, it doesn't exist.
exist.
There's no legal relationship that is a common law spouse.
Gosh.
And a lot of people are quite surprised by that.
Yes,
and
I bet they are.
I think people don't, I don't know where it comes from that people think will be okay, but we also speak to people like, I spoke to a lady who we went through her situation, and you know, she's got children and she wants to leave everything to her children. We always make sure we ask every single question, even if they've provided all this information. So I went, just to make sure, you're not married. Oh, well, no, we've been separated for kind of 20 years, but are you still married? Well, legally, yeah, I suppose so. And what she didn't realise is if anything had happened to her, her husband would have got the vast chunk of her estate if she hadn't have got a will in place. Even though they'd been separated, they'd chosen never to legally divorce, so he would still be entitled under the rules of intestacy.
We've had an email in, actually, so really goes right to that question from Steve, who said he's been separated from his wife for a number of years.
Yeah.
Now living with a new partner.
Yeah.
Who would get his assets if he didn't have a will in place?
So if he's still legally married, his wife, legal wife, would get the vast chunk of his estate. His new partner would get absolutely nothing, no matter how long they've been together, no matter that they were living together. And it then becomes really complicated, because actually if she's living with him, she could then bring a claim against his estate when he was no longer around, and it then becomes like contentious probate, and it becomes very complicated. Steve, if he's still watching, he really needs to get a will in place, because and it's great that people are actually contacting us and giving us these scenarios, because there are so many different scenarios, and until we speak to you about your individual circumstances...
Because everyone is different.
Everybody's different. Yeah, everyone's different. And there is this misconception that, oh, everything will be okay.
And this isn't a tick box situation. This is a bespoke service. So if you pick up the phone on 0333 600 2600 and you wanted to speak to someone now, Steve, you know, you're actually going to get that advice and make those steps forward to make sure that your partner, the person that you love, that you are living with, actually can benefit from your estate, rather than money or assets going to somewhere that you don't want them to go anymore. And while these offers are in place, this is definitely the right time to do it. Just pick up that phone. You can speak to someone now up until 3 a.m. They are in the office. You can text WILL to 66777, or in fact, you can fill in a little simple form on simplerlaw.co.uk/ShopOnTV. You can see the prices that we've got. They are offer prices, very special prices that are there for you because you are watching us here tonight or this morning on Shop on TV. Now somebody will speak to you if you text or you fill in that form between 1 and 2 working days. Or if you actually want to speak to someone tonight, if something feels very urgent, you can do that. Pick up the phone now, 0333 600 2600. Andy, I mean, that's just one thing that we've just talked about there that Steve's texted, emailed in. Actually, if you do want to email in to us, it is studio@shopontv.co.uk, studio@shopontv.co.uk, and we're live with you until 3 a.m. But Andy, amongst that, what other things could go wrong if you don't have a will in place?
Well, if you don't have a will in place, then you've got no control over your estate. So, you know, we see people put all sorts of things in there. So the wrong people could inherit, yeah? And a will is about as much as who you want to inherit, and also it's about who you don't want to inherit. So the documents can be very contentious things of themselves there, because what you're nominating is what you want to happen there. And of course the laws of intestacy, you know, because it's going to fall into laws of intestacy, is if you don't, is it will follow a set of rules there. So you have no choice over executors, you have no guardians are chosen if you have children there, and it could follow a set format there where even your wife will, depending on the size of your estate, will only earn so much of it. Yeah, might not inherit everything.
Yeah, can we talk about that? Because we talked about this before the show, and again, as if there hasn't been enough things that boggling my mind this evening. But you said something about if you don't have a will in place and you have a large estate.
Yes.
It goes into different percentages. I mean, this is so confusing to me.
Yeah, I mean, the chart that was up on the screen a moment ago, that takes you through the questions that are asked. And the first question is, are you married?
Yes.
And if you are married, it then depends on whether you have children. But let's say, for example, you're married with children.
Okay.
If you have a large estate, your spouse will get what's known as the statutory legacy, which is effectively a lump sum. At the moment, that's $322,000. So they get that portion, and then the rest of it is split 50% to the spouse and 50% to the children. Now, we've come across scenarios where actually people have been very lucky in the property market and they've bought property.
This $326,000 includes your property.
Yeah, exactly. It can do. I mean, say for example, the person who died owned the property entirely themselves, and bought the property when it was, worth less, and it's now grown in value. And we can see properties that are kind of like 500, 600,000,
easily,
and suddenly the spouse isn't inheriting even the whole property, never mind the cash to be able to kind of carry on living. And people don't realise that. They assume that as a married couple, they will automatically get everything.
And presumably, I mean, one would hope that the children wouldn't say, well, Mum, you've got to move out, I want that money. But because it's not written down, it's not in your will, that in theory could happen.
It can, yeah. And occasionally we see scenarios where, because people haven't made a will, they might not actually be on good terms with the children, or it might be that it's a new relationship and the children are his children but not her children, and they don't get on, and then suddenly you've got them all inheriting parts of this estate and they don't actually talk to each other.
Actually, this is terrifying me. I feel like you're actually talking to me now.
Okay. Your own scenario,
but
your own personal consultation.
We do have a will in place, so
good,
right,
good.
But
yeah, there are so many scenarios, and we see it a lot where people want to disinherit children, or perhaps not even for any reason that they've fallen out, but perhaps one of the children has made sacrifices to look after Mum when she's older, maybe sold her own property to move in, and actually Mum wants to give her a bigger portion of the estate. That can't happen unless you have a will in place, so you have to put that in a will, because under the intestacy rules, your children are treated all exactly the same. The child that has dedicated the last 5 years to looking after you, compared to the child who you haven't seen for 20 years.
To Australia.
Yeah, they're treated exactly the same. The only way, writing a will is all about you being in control of everything and making sure what you want to happen will actually happen. But you have to put it into a legally binding will. Don't leave it to chance. Don't think everything will be okay, because it really won't.
Well, interestingly enough, I felt very much like Helen was talking to me directly there. And also I want to go on to something else that feels very much what happened to me when we lost my dad. My dad had put everything in place for my mum, but we had to scurry around and find it. So that was quite a big worry for a considerable amount of time for my mum, because she didn't know where anything was. So Andy. you have this incredible book, which the first 250 people who contact Simpler Law this evening will get as a gift, whether or not they go ahead with their will or their LPAs. But this is worth, I mean, you say it's worth £25. To me, this is actually priceless, because it just, when you're talking about, you know, the grief of losing a loved one, a family member, and then all of the paperwork, all of the horrible form filling that has to go on as well. Actually, to have something like this, which can make all of that simpler, is invaluable to me.
Yes, it is. It's such a, just to give you some ideas, some of the statistics, we created this book of many years of experience with probate, and we've created this book because we can see how easy it is for things to be missed. For example, it is estimated that at the moment in the UK there is £5 billion in forgotten pension schemes.
How much?
5 billion. 5 billion.
Wow.
£850 million in unclaimed British bank accounts. 850 million. £2 billion in unclaimed life policies. So just between them three, there's nearly £8 billion. 8 billion. Yeah, that's a lot of zeros there. That people have saved their money, or they've paid into a pension, or they've paid for a life assurance policy,
to that money?
And it's just sitting there.
Literally sitting there, not doing anything.
It's not claimed. And the reason it's not claimed is because people pass on. And, you know, where is it? Because, you know, first thing we do when we do administer a probate case, or take it through this process there, is we go to a bank statement. So what's being paid out? You know, so where is these assets there? But if someone's got, you know, a little savings book, you know, and you see people, little building society books there, and they're tucked away in the bottom of a drawer and no one knows about it because, oh, we're putting it away. Unless you tell someone, yeah, you know, and we're very good at getting information out there. But of course, if that little passbook is stuck in someone's bottom drawer, it's hidden away there because, you know, for a safe, and no one knows about it, how are we going to find it? Frozen pensions, people have, you know, everyone says, oh yeah, we've got 2 or 3, I worked there for 10 years and that was 20 years, I've got these frozen pensions, or I bought a life assurance policy there, and of course that will pay me, you know, for my funeral or whatever. But unless we know where the documentation is, and these things are being lost, families are missing out on billions of pounds. And what this book does, it allows you to bring the information together just to write it down. Not only that, it takes it a stage further. We live our lives on tablets and phones these days, and that's where our photographs are, you know, and I'm the world's worst person. Thousands of photographs there, unorganised there. Promise one day I'm going to sort them out. But if something happens to me and no one knows my passcode, they are lost. Yeah, so you know, I'm not going to tell them my passcode. The reason I've got a passcode is that it is private. But then when you pass on, yeah, and no one knows it, then it's lost. And then how about email accounts? How about other things as well? Yeah, and this book goes through utility bills, you know, online accounts, yeah, you know, even eBay accounts, yeah, where people have got accounts in there, or they might have money in their accounts, you know, their online mail order type accounts there, where they might have money in there or credit built up, or whatever. Pets, yes, it covers pets in here as well. We mentioned pets earlier as well, and that's a big thing in wills that we put in wills, is pets, and
you know,
it's part of the family. And what this book is allowed is to bring it all together in one place there. You keep it safe, keep it with your will. When people pass on, yeah, and here's a will, oh look, and here's all the information I need to make sure that I can carry it out and nothing's missed. Billions of pounds, you know, families are missing out on billions of pounds at the minute because it's been lost.
Well, you talked about earlier before the show when we were preparing, you talked about visiting a property in Birmingham, didn't you?
Yes, that's right. Yes,
to go through the whole system.
We did. We was asked to. We weren't named, but we was asked to deal with an estate in Birmingham a few years ago now, and so we turned up, and it was a small flat in Birmingham, and elderly gentleman had died, and he had a car. You know, and it was just it was an average car, and it was, you know, it's a small property, and we thought, okay, we can take it through the process. So we went into the property and we had a good look around, and we found a book, literally at the bottom of the drawer. And it was a, you know, the old savings book.
Yes.
There was £1 million. you know, £1 million, and of course the lifestyle is like, so, well, oh dear, and so it's like, well, you know, we've got £1 million, and this, but we then had to find his family because he was a single person, he didn't have children, and then we had to, it was like air hunters, you know, where we had to go in and find the family, and we found, you know, sort of, you know, family, you know, around the world, and it was a very fascinating case, and they all got part of this estate there, but no one would have known. It was nearly £1 million.
That could have just disappeared into the ether, never to be seen again.
It was, you know, and very fortunate that we were there and we found it. But what this does, it can take all of that away.
Yeah. So if our viewers are watching tonight, why should they come to Simpler Law rather than go to someone else, Andy?
This is what we specialise in. Yeah, this is what we do. This is our day-to-day job. So, you know, there are many areas to look, but we just focus on this one area there, and then so we can specialise in it. So we've done it for a long time. We've got over 200,000 clients there. You know, we've got the expertise. Our staff are highly trained. There's all sorts of reasons. And there's another interesting one. You know, what we do is we're all professional document drafters. And that's interesting because what we actually do is we actually draft the documents for over 100 other law firms across the UK.
Oh, really?
So not only do we deal with clients, we deal with other businesses as well. So other businesses put the faith in us as well. So we have the expertise, because when you write documents, you often pick up bits as well. You know, if we write it this way, we can achieve this for you. So it gives us that expertise there. That not only do we deal with this every single day there, but we're all trusted by industry partners as well, which we draft their documents to them as well. So you know, we are well known across the industry. We are insured, so people are insured. So if we get it wrong, you're covered. Yeah, which is good. We've never had a will fail.
I was going to say,
yeah?
How often does it go?
That's right. Yeah, you know, in all of our history, we've never had a will fail. But if it does,
the insurance is
then you know, there is indemnity insurance which will protect that. It gives you that peace of mind. Yes, we've got a 5-star Trustpilot rating. Yes, we've been a long time, and we're a award-winning firm now as well. So we've got to say that.
You said about the fact that you're drafting documents for other industry professionals. That's really backed up by this, and this has just been in the last couple of weeks.
This was last Thursday night. So in Manchester at the British Wills and Probate Awards. So it's one of the major awards of the year, and it's voted for by the industry. And so we won this year, which is Estate Planning Firm of the Year, which we were over the moon about, overjoyed about, because we think that this is one of the major awards to be acknowledged as well by the industry. We're extremely proud of that.
Well, congratulations, but it is backing up that when you approach Simpler Law, you know that you are getting that really, really bespoke and heritage, if you like, you know, understanding that comes from those decades and decades of experience that you are getting from Simpler Law. I mean, I just wanted to ask you, Helen, I mean, in your opinion, you know, why should everyone get a will in place?
We've talked a lot this morning about everyone's scenarios and everyone's circumstances being completely different.
Yes.
And that's the fact of it. Everyone's circumstances are so diverse. You know, we're all sat here and I know that all our circumstances are different. Everybody needs to think about getting a will in place. We've talked about people with young children, we've talked about unmarried people, we've talked about people who are married still to somebody else and yet moved on to a new relationship. One of the big things to think about is now in this day and age, people come from kind of blended families. So it might be that a couple are now together who have had previous relationships and who have children from different relationships. Now that chart that we talked about for intestacy, if you've got children from different relationships, that can be catastrophic for that family, because what happens is the two parents, depending who dies first, so if say for example mum dies, everything goes to dad. Well, when dad dies, his estate will only go to his bloodline. So if she had children from a different relationship, her children are completely disinherited.
Oh
So
my goodness me.
It all depends who dies first. So if you've got a blended family or children from different relationships, you really need to think about getting a will in place.
I mean, it could, you know, that could filter down even further if the surviving partner then marries someone else, and they have children. That could just
keep moving.
The money could just keep moving and moving further
We call it sideways disinheritance, which sounds a technical term, but it's exactly that. It moves sideways without going down to the future generations.
It's accidental.
Yes.
But it can happen.
Yeah,
because you
that's
don't
it.
have
Nobody
that will.
intends it to happen that way. Certainly she didn't intend to disinherit her children. If she'd have just had a conversation with somebody like us, that is so easy to put right. It's so easy to put right in a simple will, but because they didn't have that conversation, she didn't know, and unintentionally disinherited her children.
Absolutely horrendous, it really is. And I know this is why these programmes, that you coming here to be with us, it is so important, and it's educational, it's eye-opening.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, when you're listening to some of it, it can be terrifying, but it's so simply, clues in the name, isn't it, simpler law, but so simply can be readjusted and make sure that your wishes are passed on to the right people. So arguably the best offer that we've got this evening is the combination of the will and the lasting power of attorney. Would you agree with that? Is that something that you think people should do?
Absolutely. We've already spoke. The power of attorney is an incredibly powerful document, and why you should have one, and with a will, and obviously that's the best discount as well, you know.
Yes.
So that's the best value for money, and with the book. So you know that you can get your will, you can get your power of attorney, or in Scotland, enduring power of attorney, and you know you can secure the book as well, and you know, and cover yourself. You know, make sure it's done. Just give you that peace of mind. Yeah, we don't like to think about these things. We don't want to know when we're going to die or whatever there. But once it's done, then it's sorted out. It's thing ticked off your list. You know your family's protected then, and you know, and it's in place for whenever that day will happen.
A small price to pay to have that absolute security that what you want to happen will go ahead of you. Let's share those offers with you again, actually, and also how to get in touch. The numbers, the text line, everything is on the screen all the time, so you don't have to wait for these different pages to come up here, but you can see the offers that Andy and the team are offering you from Simple Law tonight are absolutely incredible. They do make it really, really affordable, and even more so if you want to spread them over 4 interest-free instalments. They're there for you as well. So there is the best offer that we've got is the will and the LPA together. Look at that saving, £309 saving. And let's just look at the instalments, because I think that's where we suddenly go, actually, I can afford this. £62.25. Can we think about what we've spent £62.25 on in the last month? You know, could it be the petrol that you've put in your car? Could it be some coffees in the takeaway coffee shop on the way to work? You know, maybe it's a pizza on a Friday night. Can we do away with that for a few months to make sure that we've got that security and that peace of mind? If you're putting aside about £15 a week, that's going to cover that. So that £15, I mean, I've spent that, I think, in the last 2 days on coffees. Genuinely, you know, pop into that pharmacy on the high street that has a meal deal. I think I've probably spent more than that, or the Tesco Express or Sainsbury's or whatever. So I think actually, if you just put that in perspective, it makes it very, very affordable to make sure that your peace of mind is taken care of. Let's just show you how to get in touch. Now, there's lots of ways to do this. The first one there, you can see simplerlaw.co.uk/ShopOnTV. That is a dedicated web page. Don't go to our website, go to this one. On that page, not only will you see the offers reiterated, but you'll also see a little form that you can fill in. And then somebody from Simpler Law will contact you between 1 and 2 working days. So at the latest, that's probably Monday. You don't have to have anything in place. This is just your first step. They'll then take over and help you find what you need to find. If you want to speak to someone tonight, you can. Up until 3 a.m. this morning, there are people in the Simpler Law office in Lincoln. 0333 600 200, sorry, I'll do that again. 0333 600 2600. Or indeed, if you just want to set the wheels in motion, you can text the word will. Doesn't matter if it's lowercase, uppercase, a mixture of cases, does not matter. Just the word will to 66777. Right. Okay, Helen, what I want to go back to our LPAs here. What happens if we find ourselves in a position where a family member is incapacitated in some way and there isn't an LPA, there isn't a lasting power of attorney in place? What could go wrong?
So the lasting power of attorney obviously is this document that gives somebody the authority to act on your behalf if you find yourself in a position where you can't make decisions for yourself. Now you have to get that in place while you're fit and well and you've got capacity to do so. What happens if someone loses capacity without having that document in place? In order for somebody to act on your behalf, they have to make an application to something called the Court of Protection.
Okay.
So that application process, it's a court application. You complete a form, you have to put yourself forward as a deputy and undergo an assessment, a financial assessment. You have to justify why you're the right person to step up and look after that person's finances. And that application is over £400, the court fee to make that application. Once that's gone to the court, they then carry out this assessment on you, and for each deputy that's an additional £100. And then if they decide that there needs to be a hearing, then that's another nearly £500 for that hearing.
Isn't it?
Yeah. And then if they grant that deputy order, which gives you the power...
That's not even guaranteed.
It's not guaranteed.
Right.
No, it's not guaranteed up till this point. If they do grant that deputy order and say, yes, you can make decisions for this vulnerable person, they then supervise you to make sure that you're keeping accounts and, you know, making the right decisions that are in the best interest of this person. And there's an annual supervision fee there. So you can see that those fees really stack up.
Yeah.
And the comparison between the Court of Protection process and putting an LPA in place, there's no comparison at all. If anyone could have a crystal ball and see that someone's going to lose capacity, they would get a power of attorney in place. The fact that we don't know if it's going to happen, people think, oh, I'll do it next time I think about it. You know, they put it off because, of course, it's never going to happen to us, is it?
No.
We're never going to be the ones that it's going to happen to.
We always do assume that everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
We actually think about the cost there of the two LPAs. You're talking about the one that covers health and one that covers your property. If you're in Scotland, if you're watching us, our STV viewers, then it is one document. But if you're in England and Wales and it's the two documents, for less, and Northern Ireland?
Helen.
No,
Not
it's
Northern
different.
Ireland. So,
No.
so slightly different. So England and Wales, for less than £360, that's right, isn't it? Because it's 179, so it'll be 180. So 360, well, it's actually £358, which was nowhere near the cost of going. That was £1,322. There's effectively £1,000 difference. Everything can be taken care of, and no yearly fee as well.
No. And the process itself, I mean, you can put a power of attorney in place by speaking to us, we'll draft it, you get it signed, it's done, it's in place. It's, you know, a couple of weeks depending how you get on. If you're dealing with the Court of Protection, you're looking at 12 months to get a deputy order.
Distressing.
Yeah.
For everyone involved there.
Yeah, because you can imagine it's at a time where you're trying to look after the vulnerable person. You're trying to act in their best interest. You might be trying to pay for their care. You might be trying to cancel utility bills. You know, I've had family members that have had or been in hospital for a long period of time, and we've tried to look after their utilities, change providers, get the phone turned off, things like that, and they just won't speak to you. If you have not got that authority, they will not speak to you. So you can imagine you're doing all that, and then it's going to take you 12 months to get the authority to be able to act, to even access the bank account to pay for their care. It's really difficult on families, and I know that there'll be people out there that are watching that will think, I don't want my family to have to go through that. And that's what it's all about. It's looking after your family and making sure they haven't got to go through this horrendous process.
It's frustrating on a daily basis when you're both of sound mind and you're wanting to change your television subscription, but it's only one person that's on the documentation with Sky or whoever you're with. But when it actually comes to someone who's vulnerable, whether it be mum, dad, brother, sister, cousin, and a friend even, and they are desperately needing your love and your care, how distressing is that going to be for you and for them to know that you can't help them have the life that they want to have that dignity on day-to-day life for such a simple thing, just picking up the phone tonight, just texting the word will to the number that's on the screen, filling in a little form, whatever it may be, just that first step. And there is absolutely no obligation. It is just that first step to see if it is the right thing for you. And what I've loved about talking to Andy and Helen tonight is the fact that these shows for them is about the education of it and making sure that we understand actually how complex it can be, but actually how simple it can be if you make these small steps. And even if it's not simpler law that you turn to, that they want to make sure that you have done the right thing for you. But actually, with the deals that we've got, the offers that we've got for you on ShopOnTV tonight, why would you not make that first step and talk to Simpler Law to see if they are able to help you move forward? You can see these deals that we've got for you and the amazing savings. The wills and the LPA, that is definitely the way to go for, genuinely, with that £309 saving, extraordinary. And I just can't get over when we looked at the cost of what could go into making sure that you can care and for your loved ones. For £358, if you wanted to go for both of your LPAs, in actual fact, I mean, that it is just, it's a no-brainer for me. It really, really is. Don't put it off any longer. Do pick up the phone. If you want to speak to someone tonight, you can on 0333 600 2600. If you don't want to speak to anyone but you just want to make that first step, text the word will to 66777, or indeed there's a little form that you can fill in and someone will get in touch with you. If you go to the webpage simplerlaw.co.uk/ShopOnTV, someone will be in touch with you between 1 and 2 working days. Andy, if someone's just joined us, talk to us about your company, about Simpler Law. I mean, it's not just wills and LPAs, is it? You offer so many services.
We do. So it's fair to say that we specialise in end-of-life services. So that is our day-to-day job, and that's where our focus is. So we specialise in this. But we do, involved in end-of-life services, we can also talk about probate, the administration of estate when someone passes on. That's the legal process to beneficiaries. We also deal with corporate protection work, which we have discussed tonight, where if someone hasn't got a power of attorney, we can apply for a deputyship order so someone can act on their behalf. We also do trust creation as well. So something there that we've not mentioned a great deal, but you know, we've mentioned a lot about tonight about, you know, why we should make a will and what we would like to happen to that. But there is another side of it as well where, and I'll just touch on it for the moment, about the beneficiaries. And sometimes the beneficiaries, it might not be wise for them to inherit at the time. So say, for example, perhaps they're going through a divorce, or they're in financial difficulty, or perhaps they've got a dependency maybe which is alcohol related or drug related. Or they're in a controlled or coercive relationship, and we see a bit of this, and we do specialise in this a bit as well, where you know what we can do is we can then use things like trust there to protect beneficiaries there, so it's not taken away from them, or you know it could be abused, or it could be lost to creditors or an ex-spouse there. So we also deal with trust creations. When people talk to us there, it's, well, you know, and it's like, oh, I didn't realise you could do that. So we could protect beneficiaries. We also manage trust as well. At the moment, we manage over £600 million of property across the UK in trust. We as trustees, where we act on behalf of dependents and clients as well to protect their properties and their assets as well. So there's an awful lot of elements to what we do. Conveyancing, we do conveyancing as well. But very much we're in this arena. This is what we specialise in. It's our day-to-day job. And not only that, but we also act on behalf of other competitors as well, where we actually write all of the documents for over 100 other law firms across the UK. So they come to us to trust us with the documents. That's our level of expertise. Yeah, that's why that when people come to us, you should be able to put your trust in us. We are an award-winning company. We have got a 5-star Trustpilot rating, and of course we're backed by insurance. So if we get it wrong, then you know you're covered. If you get it wrong, well, you know, you're exposed, and all things could have happened. There's no recall there. And for the cost that we're offering, you know, for a will for £89, for all of that experience into one document for you, yeah, it is amazing value there.
It is amazing value. I know how much I spent on my will. And it was a lot more than that, I can assure you. So it is extraordinary value. Let's actually share some review. You talked about your 5-star Trustpilot reviews, so let's actually share some of those because I think that it's so important that we actually hear from real people. Charles here says, my consultation was done by Charlotte Benyon. She was very professional and explained thoroughly each stage, making sure it was firstly what I wanted and that I also understood any advice she gave me. Excellent service. Thank you, Charles. Now we've got one here from Nita. I wanted to rewrite my will and I saw the advert. When Ollie phoned me today, he was very helpful, providing me with excellent customer service, helping me and explaining things when I wasn't sure about something. And one more to share with you now from Dave. Dave said, I completed my will today with Gemma. Gemma was very helpful and explained in detail through the steps, making it easier and less stressful to complete. The will was more complicated due to the requests I had, but Gemma had no issue completing this. So whether it be a complex will or whether it be something very simple, it doesn't matter, does it? It's just that each person is an individual. Yes. You are, as a company, you're offering a bespoke service. Yeah. One of the things I loved about not just the 3 reviews that we've seen there, but some of the other ones that we saw earlier in the show, is that they name check everyone within your customer service team. Yeah. So it really does feel like a very personal, hand-holding exercise.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. It is, yeah, because you will have an appointment with a consultant who will then become like a friend. We have people who say they become like a friend to us throughout the process, because that will be the person that you talk to, who you'll have conversations with, who will ask you questions, and they'll get to know everything about you so that they can produce a document that reflects your wishes. And they'll be your go-to person. So if you need to go away and think about it for a little while, or, you know, if we ask some questions and you think, oh, I haven't thought about that, can I have a couple of days, you know, and then you call back and speak to that person.
You speak to the same person.
Yeah, so that person guides you through the process. And I think, I mean, I have to say our staff are excellent, and we've got them to thank for the awards and things like that we do receive, because they do such a good job with the clients. And it's because they really care about it. You know, they do this job because they care about what they do, and they want to help people to get their documents in place. And they get such a lot of satisfaction from knowing that the person they first spoke to, who had never written a will before, didn't know any of the legal terminology, didn't even know what they wanted or what questions they were going to be asked, to actually going through the process and getting them the documentation that they need that suits their circumstances and giving them that peace of mind. That's what's so rewarding for the staff. And they do get very close to the clients, you know, they speak to them on a regular basis. So
I just realised that we've been on air for quite some time, and if you have just joined us, I haven't really explained who these two marvellous people are. So, Simpler Law is the name of the company, but what we've actually got here, and I think you will have heard it just in the last couple of moments there, the passion and the expertise that comes from these two amazing people that we have in the building. We have the CEO of Simpler Law, Andy Townsend, and we also have Head of Legal Services here in Helen Claydon. So it's extraordinary that you've taken the time out to be with us, but then I think that's what shows that it's become something that it's not just a business, it matters so much to you, and that the decades of experience that obviously comes from you, but also your entire team, it shines out of both of you. So I was going to sort of ask you why people should come to you to make a will, but I think it's very, very clear. You've made that very, very evident. But are there any sort of misconceptions around wills, Helen, that you hear on a regular basis?
Yeah, a lot of the misconceptions relate to what happens if you die without a will in place.
Right.
And I think there's this kind of for some reason, people think that everything will be okay. A lot of people think, well, I've talked to my family, you know, we're very open, we do sit down and have those conversations.
What I want.
They know what I want to happen.
Yeah.
And that's brilliant, talking to your family and being open. But unless it's in a legally binding document, your family can't act on your wishes, because legally, your estate has to follow the rules of intestacy. So that's really difficult for families who come to us and say, well, mum's died and we need to deal with the estate, and we tell them what's going to happen because there wasn't a will in place, and they turn around and say, but that's not what mum would have wanted. That's not what she wanted. And they're really heartbreaking calls and conversations to have. And people understand that there's legislation in place and it has to follow, but for all the little things as well, you know, like if they knew that mum or dad had specific wishes about what they wanted to go to various different places, and now knowing that none of that is going to happen is really difficult. So for anyone who is thinking, I'm not sure I need a will because my family situation is straightforward, or I don't have any assets, or, you know, all these other, I'm too young, I don't need to think about it yet. I had somebody ask me, or say to me, oh yeah, I don't need to get a will in place yet because my circumstances will change lots in the future. Well, yes, they probably will, but what happens if something happens now? You know, you put a will in place to take care of now. And if your circumstances change, you can update it in the future. It's not a one-off, you know, it's not your one-time opportunity. You need to think about, if something happened now, what would I want to happen? And put the will in place that suits those circumstances. So if you're thinking, well, I'm not sure this applies to me, I don't think I need a will, pick up the phone and speak to one of our consultants, because I guarantee by the end of the conversation they will have found something that you didn't know was going to happen that will make you think, wow, I'm so glad I had this conversation.
And that's what this is about. It's about making those steps forward and seeing if it's right for you.
Yeah.
Now, if someone is watching at home and they think, well, yeah, maybe I should do something about it, and the offers sound great, what is the first step for them?
They just need to speak to us. They just literally, you don't need to know anything this morning. I mean, I don't know what time it is now, but you're probably not thinking about
2:20.
Yeah, you're not thinking about who's going to look after my cat if I'm no longer around.
And it can be something as simple as that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's not necessarily about having pots and pots of money.
No, it can be the simplest things, In fact, we find that people with large estates, actually, theirs can be quite straightforward, whereas people who have worked really hard for the small amount of money that they have very specific wishes about where they want it to go. And that can actually be, we talked about our consultants getting a lot of satisfaction,
yes.
but for someone who cares so passionately about where their various little, like your ring you talked about, that you would want to pass it on through the family, things like that mean so much to people. That's why it's so important to write a will. If you die without a will in place, the rules of intestacy take none of that into account. They don't take into account your family situation, your friends, your charitable connections. We had a large estate that was an intestacy, and it was particularly sad because this chap had died and had attempted to write a will, but it wasn't valid. He hadn't gone.
And what would make it invalid?
I think in that
case,
case,
done this at home
it hadn't been witnessed correctly.
Okay.
So he'd gone to the trouble of getting a will, but it hadn't been witnessed correctly. He hadn't taken professional advice on it. But in this will that he'd written, he'd left it all to his friend who lived next door. They'd been neighbours for 40 years. They were more like brothers. They supported each other in their old age. He had no family that he had any connection with at all. But he died intestate because the will wasn't valid. And we had to search across, I think, 4 different countries for cousins of this chap who had never met him, didn't know him, didn't particularly care about him, who were now going to inherit his quite significant estate because his friend living next door, under the intestacy rules, got absolutely
And they'd never seen him, they'd never had any contact.
No.
Now, if viewers are watching this evening, they've already got a will, for example, can they take advantage of these offers, Andy? Is there something still that's worth them taking advantage of?
Absolutely. You think with wills there, and you've got to think there are some events which could invalidate a will.
Okay.
So there are people out there with wills that they're invalid because of certain events. There can be, with wills, they could be out of date. And of course, you think about it, with people, with parents, and, they've got children there and they've had more children since they've written the will.
Right.
Or they've got grandchildren, coming along and they want to leave provisions there. Or perhaps they want to exclude someone as well. Or perhaps they want to give someone more than someone else. And we see that. Or, there's a change in the gifts there, etc. Or they're falling out with a friend, or, any number of things. Funeral wishes, organ donations there. And of course, and even if the fact, if where is your will? And if someone's written on the will, do you know that could invalidate a will?
Really?
If
someone's scribbled something?
They've just scribbled something, because it can invalidate the document. So all of these things there, it's always wise to check. And yeah, of course, check with us, and it's just, and have a conversation with us. Is my will valid? Is it up to date? Just get it checked out. For the cost of £89, and then finding out that your will is up to date, well, we offer a money-back guarantee anyway. That's fine. Don't worry about it. But we often find that when we start talking to people, it's like, well, where did you get the will written? What sort of advice did you give there?
Yes.
Did they take into account your family tree? Did they take into account that as we've already said there earlier with trust creation, which we can do? Did they consider your beneficiaries here? Are they in a position? Because of course, they leave it, and of course, children, they grow up and they get married, and perhaps they're in a relationship which, well, to be honest with you, it's not a healthy relationship. Yes. So I could give them my inheritance, and it could be at risk because of a spouse, and we see that as well. So we have people coming to us. There's one that I saw, and she'd called us out because she said, look, my daughter's with a wrong 'un. and I want to make sure it stays in my family line. And so we said, right, okay. So we rewrote a will. We was able to add a trust into it as well, and we protected it for a family line then. So she was protected against this, what she perceived was a wrong 'un. Yeah. And we hear stories like this, and that's why it's important that even if you have a will there, that just get in contact with us there. The worst thing that can happen is, do you know what, you've got a great will, fantastic, but the peace of mind out of that, and that's absolutely fine. We'd rather you check it out and for us to say, do you know what, and spend an hour of our time saying, yeah, that's good, and you have that peace of mind, than saying, oh yes, you know, we need to do this, this, and this. So we'll tell you straight down the line: is it valid? Does it protect you properly? And if it's a yes, great news.
But in this digital age, you know, I can pick up my iPad, my tablet, whatever it is, and I can pop into my Google search a will template. Why can't I just do that? Why would I come to Simpler Law rather than do it myself?
Yeah, we come across a lot of templates. In the probate department, we come across a lot of wills where people have attempted to write the wills themselves. And there is so much that can go wrong. I mean, even just the terminology that's used within a will. Wills are written deliberately in legal language because it's recognised by the court system and by professionals in how to distribute an estate. By inadvertently using the wrong terminology, by writing it yourself, you can actually cause more problems than you solve. You know, we've had handwritten wills where it hasn't dealt with the whole estate because it said, I give my bank account to so-and-so and my property to someone else. And it's like, well, what about everything else in the estate? We've had handwritten wills where they haven't been signed and witnessed correctly, or even that they've been produced in such a way that the court then requests additional evidence to be able to prove it as a valid will. There are so many things that can go wrong. And interesting, you know, the price of getting a template will, you know, you can go and buy a template will, but you're still paying money for it. You're getting no legal advice on how to produce it or how your estate should be structured. No advice on what the will should contain or whether there are different provisions that are in there. And nobody's checking that you're actually signing and witnessing correctly. And then you look at the price that we're able to offer to viewers on the show, and there's no comparison. You are getting a fully advised, fully insured service where we will make sure that nothing goes wrong with that document. I'm not sure why you would take the risk. We've been through so many things on the show today about including guardians within your will, passing on family heirlooms, stating what age your children should inherit, making sure that your inheritance doesn't go to the wrong person, all of those things that people don't know should go in a will. So how on earth are you going to handwrite that in without using the legal terminology or knowing that it should be in there in the first place?
Well, it was interesting that, Andy, you mentioned organ donation earlier. I didn't realise that that was something that you could put into a will. So you could be very specific about it, couldn't you? You might, you know, because often you carry around a card and it's sort of generic tick box, I'm happy to donate my organs. But I suppose you could be very, very specific about what organs and what ones you don't want to donate, potentially, I suppose.
A lot of people in wills go, yes, you know, if they can get anything out of me, use it, and they do, and okay, that's fine. And some people, you know, and then some people have preferences there, and this will ring with some viewers. Some people don't like their eyes. You know, and that's a common one we see, you know, and then certain people have got you know, certain beliefs about it, which is absolutely fine. But what you're doing is, this is a loving gesture because you're letting the family know, because so quickly the flare-ups can happen. It can tear families apart. It can break ups there. But not only organ donation. Yeah, people find very important. There's a funeral wishes. So there's my organ donation, and here's the funeral wishes, and this is what I want to happen. I want everyone to be wearing bright clothes. It was actually Queen Victoria that brought black in, because before that we did used to wear, it was a celebration of life, but it's become about through Queen Victoria. Interesting fact. But people are going back. They want a celebration of life. So the music, you know, and yes, we have heard some rare requests there. Well, that's fine. We can accommodate most things.
My dad's match
which
of the
is
day.
fine. That's right. Match of the day. That's right. And that's fine. And some people have got a wicked sense of humour as well, and that's fine because they want it to be a celebration of life. And that's absolutely fantastic. And of course, by putting it down, you know, it helps them to, if like, create their own funeral and their own celebration there, which, you know, some people really enjoy doing. But what it's doing is it's a loving gesture. It's telling your family what you would like to happen there. And do you know, it brings a lot of, it's a very grieving time, and the last thing you want to do is people falling out. But, families then, it means that they can be part of that celebration, if you like, and not say funerals are positive things, but what it can do is it can make it, it can make it a celebration of life, and a will can bring all sorts of things in as well.
People get a lot of satisfaction from just knowing that they're carrying out their loved one's wishes. So knowing that they are putting the funeral together according to exactly what they wanted, that can really help people with that grieving process, I think.
I totally agree with that. I think the whole idea of putting a will in place is a truly selfless act. I genuinely do believe that. There are lots of things that we do in life that are, that we sometimes feel, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have bought myself that coat. I shouldn't have, I shouldn't have gone and had that lovely meal the other week. But actually having a will, putting that in place is exactly what Andy said, exactly what Helen said. It's a selfless act. It means that the people who are left behind, your family, your loved ones, are fully aware and sure of what you want. There can be no arguments. There can be no falling out because you've made that decision. You've taken the fear, you've taken the doubt away. You've actually said, this is what I want. No arguments, and this is what I want you to have to remember me by. A completely and utterly selfless act. We've also talked about the fact that, yeah, of course you can pick up your iPad or your tablet and you can find a template, but actually it's not the same thing. A, it might not even be valid. B, there are things that we, on a day-to-day basis, won't think about. But someone who does this every day, Andy and Helen's team, award-winning team at that, they know to prompt, to say, well, have you thought about that? Or what about this? Have you got this? You're then going to go away and go, gosh, I haven't really thought about all of these things. And such a simple thing to put in place. And all you need to do is either pick up the phone, and you've still got time, you've still got 26 minutes, something like that, to speak to a human being if you want to, in the office in Lincoln. And if you want to do that now, and you can, then you pick up the phone and you dial 0333 600 2600. If you don't want to speak to anyone at the moment, and I can completely understand that at this time in the morning, you can text the word will to 66777. If you would rather, maybe you don't like doing text messages, go onto the website, and it is a dedicated website. Don't go to ours, simplerlaw.co.uk/ShopOnTV. And the reason you need to do that is because that then will bring up the special offers, the discounted offers that Simpler Law are offering you because you are a Shop on TV viewer. Now, you've got 3 different options here. Family and estate will, saving you £120, just £89. Let's put this into perspective. What did you spend on takeaways last month? How many coffees did you buy on the way to work? Let's just put it into perspective. £22.25 per month over 4 interest-free instalments can take all of that doubt, all of that fear, all of that worry away instantaneously. You could do your LPA, your lasting power of attorney. You could do 2 if you wanted to, and we'll go into that. If you have just joined us and you think, I don't know what that means, don't worry, we're going to go into that in just a moment. There's your saving, £170, just £179 because you're watching us at exactly the right time. Now, this is where I think these offers come into their own. If you do your will and your LPA at the same time, look at the saving you're making there because you're watching us at exactly the right time. £309 saving in actual fact, and if you want to spread the cost, just £62.25 on the first of those interest-free instalments. Now, I just said, perhaps if someone has just tuned in and they're like, what on earth is an LPA or a lasting power of attorney? What do these weird words mean? Could you put it into simple terms for us?
An LPA is a lasting power of attorney. So, and essentially what it is a document where, you know, a will comes into effect when you pass on.
Okay.
It's your wishes to your family of what you would like to happen to your estate in a legally binding document. A power of attorney allows someone to act on your behalf when you can't. So you're still alive, but you are incapacitated.
Okay.
The immediate thing we think of is dementia. It's a very large number of people that it affects, one in so many. I can't quite remember the number now, but everyone's familiar with it because there's been a lot of media around dementia and the fact that it's striking so many people these days. But it can also mean other things. If you're incapacitated, you know, you've been in an accident, you know, you're in a coma, you're very ill in hospital, you can't act there. So there are a number of things there. And what this document is, someone that allows to act on your behalf when you can't, very simply. There are two types of lasting power of attorney in England and Wales, which is property and affairs and health and welfare. In Scotland there is just one, and it's referred to as an enduring power of attorney.
Okay.
But it is an incredibly powerful document, and it gives an awful lot of protection.
You mentioned those statistics. It's actually just shy of 1 million people in the UK are living with dementia. So it's an awful lot of people, isn't it, that this can affect. So now we've got two different types of LPA. Could we perhaps talk about the health one first, Helen?
Yeah, so the health and welfare power of attorney is appointing someone to make decisions all about your health and welfare. So it's things like where you live, what medical treatment you receive, even down to things like what food you eat or what clothes you wear or what social activities you take part in. For a lot of people, they understand the finance side of it, and when you talk about the health and welfare, they're like, oh, I'm not sure I really understand that. But normally they're the decisions that are so personal to an individual. I mean, you can imagine if somebody had a specific diet for, you know, religious or belief reasons, and there was nobody there with a voice to tell the care providers what that person should be eating, and then that person was just fed things that they wouldn't normally eat. It's horrible to think about that kind of thing happening if nobody's got a voice to say, actually, this is what mum wants, you know. Mm-hmm. So the health and welfare is a really powerful document, and when you're talking about making decisions about medical treatment, it does actually cover life-sustaining treatment as well. So you can give someone the authority to make decisions about life-sustaining treatment that you receive. So it is they're both such important and powerful documents.
So the other one, Andy, so this is our property and affairs.
Yes.
So what does this cover then?
So it does what it says on the tin, really. It allows people to deal with their property and affairs. So what we mean by that is their finances there. So, you know, bank accounts, benefits, you know, insurance claims, paying the bills, running the direct debits, accessing the bank account, you know, making decisions on the property. So, you know, let me give you some practical examples there. And people don't realise this, that if you are a married couple there, and you jointly own your house, which is normal in this country, and you have a joint bank account there. If the bank knows about it, your joint bank account is frozen. Yeah.
I can't quite believe this. This is unbelievable. So you've got joint money. You've both worked, or one of you's worked, and you've put all your money into one pot.
Yes.
If you haven't got
a power of attorney and your bank knows, then they you know, they have to freeze that because one person is, you know, one person unable to act. And of course that can create all sorts of problems. And for example, if the person, they're incapacitated and they're eligible for benefits, you can't claim benefits on their behalf. They can't because they're incapacitated. You can't claim benefits on their behalf. If you've got a joint property, and you know, we've seen situations, you know, so the big property there, and of course the children have moved out, and you know, and now one's got dementia, is incapacitated, and we need to, you know, move to a smaller property, a bungalow maybe, you know, because they're struggling to get around. You can't sell that property because they're incapacitated, or you can't, you know, raise money to have alterations done to it. You know, it is all frozen. Unless you go through this court of protection, which is a very lengthy, very expensive process. Really
expensive. Can we have a little look at that, actually? Because this is terrifying, how this can rack up so quickly, in actual fact.
Yeah, absolutely. When you make an application for a deputyship, it's called, where there isn't a power of attorney in place, the application fee there on its own is £408. I mean, even just comparing that with the prices we're able to offer.
Well, that's more than doing both of your power of attorneys, your health and your property one. That would be £358 tonight. That application cost on its own is £50 more. Yeah,
exactly. And the fees continue to rack up there. You can see you've got an assessment fee. So because obviously if you produce a power of attorney, you're choosing somebody you trust to be your attorney.
Right.
If you lose capacity without a power of attorney, effectively anybody could step up and say, I'm the person who would be a deputy. So there has to be an assessment to make sure that's the right person. And the worrying thing is it can be anybody. So you can imagine the scenarios we've talked about where perhaps there's one child that moved away and they haven't been in touch with mum and dad. That child can come forward and say, well, I'm going to be a deputy. And you're then relying on the court and the court process to say whether they're the right person or not.
Does it mean it could be someone who's not even a family member?
It would be very difficult to prove then. I think the court would look at that very carefully.
Say no.
But I mean, we probably all have a very clear view in our mind about who we'd want to look after our affairs. It's a really personal thing. You know, they're going to have an incredible power to deal with your finances. It has to be the person that you trust. So if you've got children that perhaps you're not so close with, the thought of them stepping up and be able to get this power, well, you can do something about that by putting a power of attorney in place and giving the person that you trust that authority to act. So the fees are horrendous if you haven't got a power of attorney in place.
£1,332, and that just grows.
It does, because there's an annual assessment, an annual supervision fee that goes on for as many years as you're acting as a deputy. So it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop there. Whereas with a power of attorney, you produce the power of attorney. You do have to register it with something called the Office of the Public Guardian.
Right.
But once it's in place and active, that's it.
So you mentioned earlier, actually, in the show, you said that some people will have their LPAs, their lasting power of attorneys, drawn up, and then they'll file them, and they might not register them until they're needed.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that the right thing to do, or would you?
It's really down to kind of personal preference. You know, some people choose to register them straight away because maybe they think they might be needed and they want them to be ready to go. Some people are producing them for the what if scenario, which is exactly the right thing to do. You know, they're fit and healthy and thinking, hopefully nothing's going to happen to me, and if it does, hopefully not for the next 20 years, you know. So they're thinking, I just want to get this document in place so I've got it if it's needed, but then I'm going to pop it away. And if it is needed, my attorney can go through the registration process at that point and be able to use that document. So it's down to personal preference, really. We can talk you through those options at the time.
Again, that's with your client care team. Somebody on the end of the phone at any point for you to talk you and hold your hand through the entire process, whether it be your wills, your LPAs, or both. Now, Andy, with either of those, with it being a will, the LPA, or both, what are our next steps for our viewers at home?
Very simple. You don't need to know anything tonight. You don't need to be thinking, oh, you know, what do I need to do here? Who do I need to leave this to? It's a start of a journey. The first start is make the contact, and it's just like get the phone, text, you know, make the contact through the website, or just give us a call. Just make the contact and let us take you on the journey. Yeah, once you've secured the deal, we'll ring you back. We'll talk you through it. We'll go at your pace there. We'll send you a pack so you know exactly what to think about there. We'll talk to you on the phone, and we'll ask you questions and tell us your situation. Tell us how you want things to go. Tell us how that's going to, you know, that's going to affect you and your family, and we'll take you down that journey there. But for now, it's just picking up your phone. Yeah, just pick it up, either text or give us a call.
Well, let me give you all of that information in actual fact. Let me explain how easy it is to get in touch and to make those first steps. Now, you can go onto the website, and it is a dedicated web page, simplerlaw.co.uk/ShopOnTV. When you go onto that page, not only will you see the exclusive offers, your Shop on TV offers, but you will also see a little form that you can fill in at the bottom of it. Then you also have the option of just texting the word "will" if you want to 66777. Nobody is going to call you back straight away from that. That is just putting those first steps in place. Somebody will call you tomorrow, or today actually, well, at least within 2 working days. So by Monday, you'll definitely have somebody in touch with you. Or if you still would like to speak to someone tonight, you can, which is extraordinary, isn't it? For another quarter of an hour, 15 minutes. The office is actually open in Lincoln at Simpler Law. So if you want to speak to someone now, if you actually think, do you know what, it's fresh in my head, I just want to get this underway, then pick up the phone and dial 0333 6002 600. For me, I look after my mum. I say I look after my mum. She's incredible. She's 87. She's very independent. She's still bombing around in a Mercedes with her blacked out windows, gangster granny, going out, meeting friends for lunch. But we talk about it all the time, about the fact that that could change overnight. We've both got, Mum and I and my partner Andy, we've all got friends that actually circumstances have changed almost instantaneously. And if you haven't put these documents in place, whether it be your will or whether it be your LPAs or both, if you haven't put these things in place, then suddenly the things that you want for your life, the things that you want for your friends, your family, your loved ones, suddenly can be taken away from you. We've heard these horrific stories actually about the rules of intestacy. If you don't have a will in place, how actually that money can be dispersed, can be moved away from the people that you really wanted it to go to because you haven't put that simple document in place. We've heard about hearing about a mum who's being cared for by someone, but actually a daughter thought there's something not quite right here. Something, money's going missing, my mother's not being looked after properly, and actually the daughter not being able to take over that care because the lasting power of attorney isn't in place. Massive things that can happen and things that can go wrong, huge things that actually can be counteracted very, very simply with a document that you can draw up to exactly your wishes. It's not a template, it's not a tick box system. It is literally what you want. And the team at Simpler Law will hold your hand, they will guide you. They won't make the decisions for you. They will not make the decisions for you, but they will suggest, they'll say, have you got this? Have you thought about that? What about this? So that you can then go away and go, okay, right, that's great. They've thought of things that I would never have occurred to me. Why? Because they have decades of experience, passion and understanding of what will make your choices, your decisions, your journey, your experience better, easier, simpler. The clue is in the name, Simpler Law. I want to share some testimonials with you actually You'll have noticed as we've been going through the show, we've been talking about these 5-star Trustpilot reviews. Look at this from Jean here. Was rather nervous to begin with, but from the very beginning, every person I spoke to put my worries at rest. It was a very simple procedure, and I will be recommending them to anyone I know who hasn't got a will yet. That's just one of many, many 5-star Trustpilot reviews. This one here from Sandra. I love this. I never recommend any services, but I definitely recommend Simpler Law. Very knowledgeable staff, explained every step in detail and provided further advice and information. And one more from David here. I spoke with Bjorn today about getting a will document drawn up. A very polite and friendly person. He was also very professional and efficient. He guided me through the process in a concise and clear manner. Very happy with the great customer service I received today. Thanks. Well, thank you, David, for sharing that review with us and all of these wonderful reviews that we've seen. And you can see those as well if you go to Trustpilot and you pop in Simpler Law. You'll be able to see literally hundreds of those 5-star reviews. I wanted to talk about this brilliant book here, which I should be purchasing from you after the show, because I think I've been thinking that I needed to get this. And the reason I think that I need to get this is we lost my dad. Well, it's actually coming up to 8 years ago on Remembrance Sunday. And my dad had put everything, he was a pensions analyst, so he knew what he was doing to look after Mum, but she didn't know where anything was. And he hadn't left anything like this. So it felt during the grieving process, my mother's obviously grieving the loss of her husband. My brother and I are grieving the loss of our father. But we're scurrying around trying to get everything together to reassure Mum that everything's going to be okay. If only my dad had had something like this in place, it would have been a complete and utter game changer, and it would have taken so much fear, angst, distress away from a time when you're distressed anyway because you're grieving for someone that you loved.
Yes.
So this book that you've produced as a team at Simpler Law is absolutely incredible. From incredible things, like I love the fact that you actually talk about the pets in here, because it's not all just about money, is it? It could be about, you know, well,
there's a lot of personal information.
There is a lot of personal.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the bit about pets.
But it's surprising how many people don't even know who the utility providers are.
Yep.
You know, just finding things like that out is really difficult if you don't know. So, I mean, this book has come out of all the things that we've realised dealing with probate and estate administration, all the things that we think it would be great to have this information. At that point of need, like you say, it takes away all that unknown and all that worry for that individual, because you've got all that information there. You know who you need to contact, you've got all the details of all the assets. There's no danger of anything going missing. You've got all the information there about your digital assets and email accounts and everything like that. It just makes it so much easier for the person who's having to deal with everything to have it all in one place.
Yeah, and at a time when it's difficult anyway,
yeah,
you know, and that focus is spread all over the place. But actually, to have this, which you can just, oh, I need to sort that bit out. Where is it? And you turn to the right page and you find it.
And it can take so long as part of the estate administration process. If you're writing out to everyone, trying to find out information, do you hold an account in this name? It just takes so long. And some of the institutions are pretty slow at coming back as well.
Yes.
So, you know, you're trying to compile all this information together. If we had this on every probate case that we had to deal with, it would be so much easier.
Yeah, incredible. Sorry, Andy,
Yeah, I also think as well, we often find in families one person deals with the finances.
Yeah.
Yeah, in my house, it's me. So if anything happened to me, my wife, wife, she's like, well, what do I do? And it's even mentions utility providers in here, and you know, so who's the gas with, who's electricity with, you know, who's that. So it's even it's got a practical use there. If something happened to me or one person, you know, then that perhaps does deal with the finances, then the other person can pick it up very easily there, without going through you know, the whole process there, you know, an incredibly difficult time, having all of this stress on top because it is laid out in a simple document. So it does have its values as well. You know, like I say, if the main person that deals with these passes on first, you know, it has got a lot of benefits.
Incredible offers that we've got for you. We've got hardly any time left, so I do want to share the offers with you one more time. Now, you have got 3 different options here. Your will on its own, your family and estate will on its own, £120 saving there, just £89. I think that is incredible value. I really do. I know how much I spent on my will, and I can assure you it was an awful lot more than that. Even better than that, Simpler Law have made it even more affordable by giving you the option of interest-free monthly instalments, 4 of them there, of just £22.25. That's just over £5 a week. What do you spend that £5 on? What could you give up for a few weeks in order to make sure that your will is in place? Your lasting power of attorney, there are the 2 different options there. You can do both or you can do one, whatever works for you. £170 saving, £179 is your ShopOnTV offer price. The best saving comes with doing both of them at the same time. That's exactly what we've done in our household. We have wills, we have LPAs. I have them to cover my mum, I have them to cover Andy, Andy has them to cover me, and so on and so forth. If you want to do them both, £309 saving, £249 because you're watching us on ShopOnTV today. And again, there's those interest-free monthly instalments there of £62.25. We are coming to the end of the show. Andy, we've only got a few minutes left. So if someone has just happened to turn the telly on now and they're like, oh, actually, that's a great offer, but why should I come to Simpler Law? What would you say?
Well, you're dealing with a firm that specialises this each and every day. This is all we do. This is end-of-life planning there. We've got over 200,000 clients. We've got a 5-star Trustpilot rating. We've got £5 million of indemnity cover, so you're professionally backed there. We write the legal documents for over 100 other law firms that trust us with their documents as well. You're dealing with a real pedigree, of someone there that we specialise each and every day, and we're award-winning as well. So we've just won an award to tell us that we've got a estate planning firm.
And this is an industry award.
This is an industry award we got just last week. We've been awarded this estate planning firm of the year. We're so incredibly made up of this. It is a major accolade to us. And also the fact that we are doing a good job. But
there's a reason for the accolade. It's because you are trusted by so many people and your peers in the industry as well.
That's right. That's right.
Helen, just before we run out of time, why should everybody get a will in place?
It's such an important and powerful document, and it can achieve so much. It's not just about distributing your estate to the people that you want it to go to. It's making sure the people that you don't want to receive anything are excluded. It's doing things like leaving your funeral wishes, organ donation preferences, passing on family heirlooms, leaving charitable gifts, deciding what age your children inherit. All of these things, appointing guardians for children. There are so many things that you can do within a will that are so important, and I can guarantee that everyone watching, their circumstances, there will be something that dictates that having a will in place is the right thing to do for them.
Regardless of your age.
Exactly, exactly.
Thank you so much, both of you. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Helen.
You're
It's
so
been
welcome.
such an educational show and so eye-opening. And if it just saves that distress, that headache, that heartache, by just picking up the phone or texting Will to 66777, you've got that step forward to taking all of that fear away. I know that actually sometimes that sense of mortality is the thing that stops us doing the will, because by doing that, by actually writing our will, I am actually talking about not being here anymore, but actually it's the right thing to do, not just for you, but for everyone else around you. We've heard about the things that could go wrong. We've heard about the wishes that could not be carried out. And actually with one simple, I love the name of the firm, Simpler Law, because it really does make sense of everything. One simple document, your will, it's a selfless act. It's a selfless purchase. It's something that ensures not just your wishes, but that everything that you've worked for, everything that you have achieved, goes to where you want it to go. No arguments, no one falling out, families falling out because there isn't a will in place. Do this tonight and make sure that all of that distress and all of that worry goes away. Now, we did hear about the price rises that have happened across the board on the 1st of October. However, Andy, Helen and their team have honoured the original prices to make sure that you, as a Shop on TV viewer, can make sure that you can get the best available price. All you need to do is text the word WILL to 66777, or for about another minute, pick up the phone 0333 600 2600. The website is always there, simplerlaw.co.uk/ShopOnTV. And remember, this is an award-winning company and hundreds of 5-star Trustpilot reviews. See you soon. Good night.